Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Who Are They Real Talk. Once again, I am Matt, and joining me is the Black Mask, Nick Molbach.
Hi, I'm having some serious issues. As long as you guys can hear me, that's all that matters. But my audio is coming through my computer and my headphones, I think, are my microphone. I can't figure it out.
Well, you sound fine, so hey.
Okay, well, I guess that's all that matters.
And then, of course, joining us is Woody himself, Taylor.
Woody? I did not wear the Woody costume per your request today. Don't you put that on me now.
Yeah, I know.
What's up, nerds?
And then also joining us is the one and the only Tobias Barkwell.
I do not have a costume. I'm sorry, or a mask.
There's gum in my brother's. This episode's been apparently sponsored by Trident White because I pulled that out of this. This isn't my jacket. I think it's my brother's. So
Classic Sionis.
Yes, Sionis. And last and maybe least.
Definitely least.
Wow.
Chris Lopez.
Well, I don't think so.
I'm just playing Chris.
Trident gum. Whoa. Yeah.
We really are. Doing this, aren't we?
Yes. Please sponsor us. Trident gum.
Anybody else got
with more flavor? Trident gum.
What is that?
I was going to say something really inappropriate.
Come here, Cody.
I don't like how fast that finger is. I really don't like that.
All right, erotic. We're enough goofing around.
But are we showing off toys? Wait, I got a toy. Hold on, let me see my toy. Can you see who that is?
Oh, the second greatest player of all time.
Jesus Christ!
Getting set up for the Last Dance episode. What? 5 and 6?
You want to see a Last Dance? Let's go.
Oh, okay. I don't have a weapon. I have a. What do I have here? I have a hat. I can beat with my hat. Shoot. Yeah, I don't have a weapon. Sorry.
I have a knife. Is this cool?
Okay.
What superhero is this one?
You gotta cool it.
All right.
That's been it for Real Talk this week. Thank you so much for watching.
I'm out.
All right.
So what's good?
But yeah, so today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the Universal Studios drama to start it off, and then we're probably just going to have a geeky ass conversation about comic book movies, because this weekend was supposed to be Free Comic Book Day and the release of Black Widow. So it only makes sense in honor of those two things that we are going full out geek. So no interview this week. I got to talk to I got to talk to Keith and Scott about getting him on in the next few weeks. But yeah, I figured we've done a few straight weeks of interviews. It's time to take a break and just have some good fun conversation.
Hell yeah, brother.
Let's chill.
Words.
But let's talk about this Universal Studios, boys. How are you feeling about AMC basically saying, "Hey, Universal, go fuck yourself. We're not showing your movies anymore."
And Regal Cinema is fine.
I was going to say, there's a lot of other companies that are now in this fight. So
I was about to say, pause. Regal Cinemas said we're only going to ban movies. They came out a couple days ago. We're only going to ban movies that disrespect the window. So that was a misreport. That was a mix.
Well, either way, that's a huge problem. A lot of this was cleared up. If I'm going to throw credit where credit's due. If you watch the John Campea show, he kind of had a really interesting take on it, and I kind of wanted to lead with that, where I kind of agree with him a little bit more that these studios need to respect the theater window. And I only say that because as a filmmaker who would love to see his movie on the big screen, if we don't have any theaters to watch it in, then I mean,
what's
that's
the
a
point
problem.
making it?
Right.
But I agree with that, honestly.
I'm with the whole, and maybe I'm biased because I am with theaters. The whole AMC Universal thing when it first started, Toby had sent it to me actually, and I was like, oh, this is a thing. This is, now we're gonna start fighting over, are these movies gonna go straight to theater, or are they gonna go VOD and then theater, or vice versa? And then when Regal got involved in whatever capacity, that's when it got real to me. That's when I was like, yo, maybe Universal's actually in the wrong for this, because at first I thought, oh, okay, AMC is just gonna lose out on Jurassic World, Dominion, and Bond.
And Fast 9.
And Fast 9, I'm like, there's no way they're going to miss on those 3 releases. There's no way. But then Regal got involved. And say movie theaters aren't open by November when James Bond comes out, or at least open to full capacity, it's going to be weird to see if we get James Bond to some theaters and then VOD.
No, they've already said Bond is going to get pushed back. Again, if that were to be the case, which like a movie like Trolls, okay, it didn't really make money. It's probably going to end up breaking even, is what's being said. And that's
so sad.
Well, here's the thing. That's why I think Universal coming out and saying, "Yeah, this proved it's a viable option." No, it didn't, because if you're barely even going to break even, you're in this business to make money. That's
you're not going to have any more billion-dollar movies. I mean, like they can't expect to release Fast 8 in both ways and expect to make $1 billion. There's a million of them. They could re-release the next one or the last one in theaters, and it probably would still make $1 billion. But I don't think that there's any money to really be made if there's no way for them to release the movies in theaters. Say this theater window is a big problem, and then all Universal projects, which I don't anticipate happening, go straight to VOD. They're not going to make any money. They're probably going to be sold to Disney, to be honest. But I don't think that it makes any sense from any stretch of the imagination for Universal to be doing it. And it's going to affect companies. If say they went straight to VOD for everything, it's going to affect Blumhouse. It's going to affect so many other companies within that circle that you don't even think about. And I don't know. I don't like it.
I don't understand. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Insist.
Go.
Oh, so I don't understand why the head of the movie theater guild, or whatever you call it, and the head of Universal are having this conversation through the press. Like, why are they not on the phone with each other? Like, hey, let's figure this thing out, because otherwise we're both going to be out of billions of dollars, right?
Yes.
But instead, this guy will put out a press release, and then a couple days later, this guy will put out a press release, and then they'll respond to be like, oh, we didn't mean this. We actually meant this, to try to save face. It's like, why are they not on the phone right now having this conversation? Why has this not been resolved yet? Because I do think it will be resolved. Right now, they're both just kind of testing the waters. This is a very weird time that we're in right now. And there's no game plan or any way to kind of figure out how we're going to get through the rest of this. We're all kind of in this together. And that includes the heads of the studios and the heads of the movie theater. So instead of having a Twitter argument is basically what this is, they need to get on the phone and have that conversation and resolve this before it escalates any further.
Well, the reason they're doing that is because right now they're trying to use the public opinion to garner favor. Because if you have the public be like, hey, yeah, we'd rather be in theaters versus, hey, yeah, we like paying $20 and having the ability to watch it at home. Personally, I'm on the theater side because I like going out, watching this piece of art that's made to see on the biggest screen possible. There's only one movie I supported in this whole VOD thing, and that
Bloodshot.
No, that would be you.
Not yet.
But for me, that would be Onward, and that was something I'd already seen in theaters. And I know in one of the group chats that we have, Connor was talking about the other day how, well, they're only Universal isn't the only one who didn't disrespect, or the only one who disrespected the window. And it's like, yes, they were, because they're the only one who dropped a movie that was originally supposed to have a release date and wasn't even in theaters at all. Every other movie that's been a part of this had been released in theaters already.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because we mentioned it earlier, but I thought as far as like gross and profit, that the new Trolls movie had done pretty well. Hasn't it already surpassed the like total gross of the first Trolls movie that was out in theaters? The
domestic gross, yes.
I mean, that's obviously the number they're looking at, and I could see why that would be encouraging for them. I do agree that watching this like public discourse has been kind of embarrassing, because what Universal had said publicly wasn't that inflammatory or controversial. They're like, yeah, it was pretty good for us. We might do it again sometime.
Oh, he said this has proven that VOD and putting out in theaters is a viable option now at the same time, and we may continue to do it going forward. He didn't say, "Yeah, maybe we'll do it in the future." He's like, "Yeah, it looks like this is what we're going to be doing from now on because it proved to be a viable option."
Sure, but it wasn't like we're going to put all movies out simultaneously from here on out in theaters and on demand. It seemed like they were going to take it case by case. Look, I obviously love the theater going experience, and I never want that to go away. I think AMC maybe could have made a couple phone calls before they did just publicly kind of hit the panic button and start freaking out and starting this public debate. So I'm beholden to being on their side because I don't want to stop going to the movie theater. I would hate having to watch everything from the living room, especially the bigger movies. But I do think, even if Trolls is an anomaly, and I think it is because it's a family movie that came out while everybody was stuck inside their homes. So I don't think they're going to have that success every time, but it's kind of a Pandora's box situation. Is now that the studios learned that this could work, there's no way they're just never going to do it. So I think they're going to have to come with some kind of happy medium, when there's any sort of sign of change in an industry, I think you got to go with the tides and not against them, or else you're going to get hurt. I'm thinking of like the music industry and how they struggled to respond to piracy, and they eventually had to come with streaming. And the way that brick and mortar CD stores suffered, the theaters might suffer. They're going to have to come up with some sort of between compromise, I think. I'll be interested to see how, because what's the other one? King of Staten Island. That one's going straight to.
That one's going straight to VOD.
I think it'll be interesting to see how that one does, and that'll probably have a lot to do with what they decide to do moving forward. Obviously, the big tentpole blockbusters, you need the theaters for those to work, to get your return, to turn a profit. Like the mid-budget movies are what I'm worried about. Similar how the studios like sell stuff to Netflix or just dump it out because they don't think it'll do well in the theaters. They might start more commonly doing that with straight to demand. I think that would be a shame because I like seeing mid-budget movies, but now that they learned it worked, I'd be surprised if they just say never mind and don't do it.
Well, you made a point I wanted to make and hadn't even gotten to yet when it came to Trolls. We're at a time where everyone was home. I mean, how many times did Jess have to rent that for her kid?
I've seen Trolls World Tour 2 times. It's okay.
But that's the point. Like we're at a point where kids are at home and you have to keep them entertained somehow. And how else can you do that besides TV? So $20 for 48 hours of peace and fucking quiet versus, hey, let's pay $75 for a night out. Like, I do understand that.
Eat before your show.
I'm already on, but thank you.
Shout outs to Dad. Shout outs to Dad in the house.
But
I love it.
It's just awesome. But like, it's just like, what are you doing? I lost my train of thought because of that.
Let's talk about Trolls 2. How good was it? Yes, I didn't get to watch.
Taylor, give us a Trolls 2 review.
All right, here we go. Real review. We're going on the world tour, baby. It's not the best time in history to do it, but we're doing it. It's fine. It's fine. I didn't see the first Trolls, so I don't know how it stacks up against its predecessor. But it's okay. It's it looks nice. It's very colorful.
I heard it's basically Trolls Infinity War.
The villain's plot is very Thanos-esque. It carries, I'd say, the same dramatic weight and consequences as Infinity War. But at the end of the day, you get to hear a couple top 40 pop songs.
Hell yeah.
You get cameos from the McElroy brothers, and you learn to embrace diversity and celebrate other cultures and listen to... Oh, and Ozzy Osbourne plays a troll grandpa.
Wait, what? You buried the lead. Ozzy Osbourne plays a troll grandpa.
Yeah, he's the dad of the villain who's a rock and roll troll, and you
got to kill rock and roll.
He's in a wheelchair and he's Ozzy Osbourne, but he's a troll.
Hey, joining us now after his beer-induced coma on this.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Connor.
Just called him out, man.
There he is.
No, it was just a nap. I forgot to set an alarm. I'm fine.
Dude, I'm dressed up like
I did correctly
Like,
theorize he's asleep.
Black Mask right now.
Is that just the common assumption? Like, if I'm
Yeah.
deadline is sleep.
I mean, you tweeted out a picture of you drinking a beer, enjoying the weather. No one could have
The
blamed.
most fun I've gotten in about 2 months. So that might have to do something with it.
It was a nice day to step out on the porch and not an inch further than that.
Absolutely.
That's right. That is
Where
right.
you're at, because there's like mobs everywhere. Apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna say I think it's all a moot point.
You non-essential workers.
I think it's all a moot point what we're talking about because based on people's behavior, the theaters just never are going to open back up, so it doesn't even matter.
I actually want to go back to something that Taylor had said about Trolls being an anomaly. Connor, we're talking about Trolls, the world tour, whatever the hell it's called.
Oh,
Talking trolls, baby.
my life.
But I want to see how Scoob does in a couple weeks when that
That's
gets
true.
dropped on VOD. Because yeah, it may have been the animated film, like the big family film that came out. Because the first wave of Universal movies were The Hunt, what was it, like Anna and Invisible Man.
Invisible Man. Yeah.
So those are all more mature films. So Trolls was the first like family-friendly big film. At least that Onward was going on Disney Plus anyway, and millions of people already have that. But
I did not.
I did, yes.
I want to see how Scoob does, because that's going to be Warner Brothers' first big VOD push in the coming weeks. And if that's going to play out the way that Trolls did, because if Scoob bombs, which I honestly think it will.
I don't.
I'm going to pay $20 for Scoob.
I'm gonna
I
pay.
mean, it's still live, but it's not going to be Trolls, because I think people are going to be leaving their houses in a couple weeks. If they're already not leaving their houses now.
Don't
So-
worry.
Well, like, for example, we're in Ohio. We have the Stay Safe Ohio order now. Instead of the stay home order, we are now allowed to go out into gatherings of max 10 people, and they're opening up malls on the 12th and things like that. So, I mean, I have a feeling we're going to end up with another stay-at-home order by the end of the month, and I feel bad for Taylor because Taylor's going to have to go back to work. And
No, I'm not.
You're not?
No, not to air out my personal stuff publicly, but I don't know when I'm going back to work. It could never happen. So I'm not worried.
Oh. Okay, I regret my statement.
So
let's
these bigger
not
movies
do that.
that are
Yeah.
making the money, like Trolls, right? Trolls is bankrolling, or as sad as it sounds, like the money that Trolls is making is going to bankroll these smaller movies that are coming out of Universal. Going back to what Nick said earlier, like these smaller movies, they won't make it in this VOD landscape, at least out of Universal. Obviously, the big ones will, whether it's Trolls or Fast 9 or James Bond or whatever the hell else. But these smaller movies, I don't think are going to make it. These more mature films, granted, I don't know how much Invisible Man made or how much The Hunt made or how much whatever the hell that Anya Taylor-Joy movie was. Like, Emma. I don't remember. I don't know how well those movies did. But Trolls has been the one to actually be like, hey, we actually made some type of money on this. And that's the only movie, to my knowledge, that's come out and been reported to actually be making money. Unlike the other releases that we've seen.
Now, Scoob is going to do great because of the Dick Dastardly joke that they released online. That was pretty great. I think that sold me.
Dick Dastardly reference is gonna.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. When he kept screaming,
Dick Dastardly.
when he kept screaming "Dick" over and over again, that was really quality filmmaking.
I already
at its
pre-ordered the
finest.
movie, so.
Same thing with the Netflix joke. I just think that movie is going to be way too trying to be cool and hip. I'm really excited for it, don't get me wrong, but it's probably more or less because I keep seeing these classic Hanna-Barbera characters appearing in it as opposed to the actual content, because a lot of the jokes kind of feel like they're targeting like a weird demographic, not me. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah, I
this movie's
feel
not
like
for
they're-
us, by no means.
They're falling under the spell of like inject all the IP in it. What do we have? It's got to have. You can't just be Scooby Doo. You got to put everybody else in there too. Which I don't.
Right, you got to make sure that all those children that know who Captain Caveman and and the blue superhero guy
Right.
are. Right?
It's like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like sipping the drink. He's like, "Ooh, I know that." That's what
Yeah.
every movie is now. It's like I understand that. I remember that.
Yeah,
I
but
feel like that's what we're at after like Lego Movie. Like Space Jam's apparently the new Space Jam's gonna apparently do that. It's gonna have like Joker and Pennywise or something in it. Like
Joker, Pennywise, and the Mask.
The Wicked Witch of the West, the
there's
Mask.
supposed to be referees though.
it's like
Okay.
is that what it is?
Yeah,
So
there's supposed to be
weird, though.
referees.
I was hoping they were the new Monstars and I was gonna get to see like the Wicked Witch dunk. That'd been sweet.
Over
See, like
LeBron.
Pennywise cross up on LeBron. I paid $20 for that today for sure.
There you go.
But I completely forgot about that. I do want everyone's thoughts. What are your thoughts on the logo and the title, guys?
It's fine.
Looks
The
pretty
logo's
retro.
cool. The name doesn't do anything for me.
I like the logo. The
Yeah, the logo.
name, they just had to differentiate themselves, I guess.
I just called it
Oh,
Space Jam
thank
2.
you.
That's
yeah.
what,
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Blue
Yeah.
Falcon and Dynamite.
Blue
Dynamite.
superhero guy. I was going to dress up as blue superhero guy actually for this podcast. I just didn't have enough time to get my cosplay ready. So
But no, the new logo's fine. The title's fine. It could have just been Space Jam 2. It would have made the same amount of money.
Yeah.
I would think so.
It's-
Yeah.
But it's
gonna
not.
make a
It's
ton of
not a
money.
sequel. It's a new legacy. It's for new people and for
So you
kids
telling me they're
now.
not going to acknowledge Michael?
No, I
I
don't.
had someone ask me.
it's,
I want
they've said it's a sequel. They said it's a sequel. They have
Oh, they
said
did.
Space Jam 2.
percentage odds. How like odds on Michael Jordan being in this movie? And
Oh, there's no way in hell he's going to be in
I was
this.
just
Turned
gonna
down
ask that.
$100 million to show up in an event.
Under
He's not
5%.
going to be in the movie. No.
I said under 10.
There's a 0% chance.
0.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Zero.
He's not sharing the screen with LeBron to
What about
pass a torch or anything like that. That would be too.
This is the
That'd
guy
be huge
who's
for
so
that.
petty about LeBron winning a championship
That he released the.
that he's like,
Yeah.
you know what? No, he just beat what's arguably the greatest team of all time. Release that documentary now. I ain't dealing with that.
I'm pretty sure the opening scene of Space Jam, A New Legacy, is going to be Michael Jordan being murdered by aliens, and then
No,
we're gonna do a time
Opening
jump.
scene
Yo.
of Space Jam.
Yeah.
We
What?
need a little LeBron at Swenson's. That's what the opening scene needs to be. Then again, Toby and Chris don't get that reference.
I was gonna say that went whoop, right over my head.
I don't get it either.
Well,
And I'm
I like
from this area.
Swenson's.
in
I mean, Swenson's is pretty good, but like, what are you talking about?
in LeBron's memoir, Shooting Stars, he talks
Jesus
about as a kid,
Brought to you by Trident Gum.
Yeah.
but he talks about as a kid the bike rides to Swenson's and things like that. And I would just
Okay.
so that's why it's like, all right, we need to see a young LeBron at Swenson's talking about his dreams. That's
Do you
what
think do you think it's gonna be like Uncle Drew, where it's just one big giant Nike commercial?
I really hope not.
It makes
I have a
sense.
feeling that's what's gonna be.
Yeah, here. We got him chiming in. Jordan didn't even do the junket. And this was a man who was at the junket.
God,
For what,
who
the
was
first
there?
one?
Who the hell did the junket for Space Jam?
My
Billy
father.
West.
Bill
No,
Murray.
but like I'm talking like who
Oh.
was being interviewed.
I have no
Bugs
clue.
Bunny. Bugs Bunny.
Probably the voices of the characters. Yeah, that would be my guess.
God bless.
No,
Bill
actually,
Murray
Bugs
And
Bunny.
Bill Murray. Just
Bill-
yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Wayne Knight.
Wayne,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
Wayne
gotta be
Knight.
Wayne Knight.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yo,
There's
is
no way
Wayne
Bill
coming
Murray
back?
did it.
I was about to say Jason Alexander accidentally, and I
Give
yeah.
me Seth Rogen as the Wayne character.
No, dude, just Wayne. He's
That's
still
gonna be
alive.
Don Cheadle, isn't it?
Maybe I can't
No, I
remember.
think John Cheadle
No,
got
Don
casted. in
Cheadle's
it, yeah.
the bad guy, right?
Oh, wait, what? Is he
I think that
voicing
was
the
the
main
assumption
monster?
that Don Cheadle was
He-
going to be like the sidekick, but it came out that he's actually the villain of the movie.
Huh.
How could
Okay.
Don Cheadle be the sidekick? Is he gonna be playing basketball? Can Don Cheadle hoop? Is that a thing?
That's what
I
Ken Bill
think
So,
Murray.
I mean, he's a 50-year-old in great shape.
Just to the Wayne Knight, Bill Murray comments. Voice actors. Voice actors.
Oh, that's upsetting, but cool still.
Yeah. But I mean, but yeah, I'm interested. I like the logo. I'm with Nick. The title does nothing for me.
It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It was a nice surprise.
Wayne Knight.
Knight.
Wayne
That's
Knight
okay.
rises, baby.
I'm actually
Oh,
kind of
oh, yeah.
surprised because I bought the LeBron 15, the Monstars PE, And inside the shoe, it has the regular Space Jam logo. So I thought, oh, they're starting the promotional material for this movie, getting out the shoes and everything. But no, they completely changed it up.
Let me say, I hope that they don't and they never update the Space Jam website that is still up. The original Space Jam website for the first movie, not updated, looks straight off of GeoCities. They better not touch that perfect time capsule of precious history.
They probably will.
I will boycott this film. The only reason
they still have it. They still have it.
No, I know they haven't. They better make Space Jam a new legacy.com and don't touch that perfect gem. Leave him alone. So innocent and pure. Go check out spacejam.com if you haven't before it rules.
I got it.
We're gonna do it. I was totally gonna do it.
That is sick.
Planet B-Ball. Oh my god! Wow, what is up at the top? Is that what's gonna take me back to the menu? Holy shit! Wow.
They pay for that bandwidth every month still for some reason. Don't ever lose it. Isn't it the best?
Does it have like a box score? I would love to look at the box score.
Yo.
No Space Jam news at the moment. You're wrong.
Yeah, there is Space Jam news.
I would like, okay, if you want to update it, I would like if they add the news to that section, but don't make it look good.
If there's no Space Jam news at the moment, that means there's going to be.
Anybody want to listen to the movie soundtrack on CD? Oh, there we go, baby.
That soundtrack is so hard. That soundtrack
it really is. That poster's good. That poster's hard too.
That is pretty like bad.
Released though. That artwork is how they released it. They had LeBron on one half and Bugs on the other. I'm pretty sure. But all right,
doesn't that poster look like a Zack Snyder movie?
I would die.
Let's create it right now.
Do you think? Do you guys think the reason they're injecting all that IP junk in the new movie is because they don't think that Looney Tunes is like a bankable property with modern audiences?
Well, they had that show that kind of bombed a few years ago. People hated the artwork of it and everything.
I mean, I think they believe in Looney Tunes enough to bring back new episodes to HBO Max.
Yeah.
That's something they're launching with.
But they're talking about, for that at least, it's going to be more like classic Looney Tunes. So if that's the case, that's going to win people over. And I think they want to get the younger audience hooked onto the Looney Tunes before this film.
Hear me out. Okay. Hear me out. Okay, I got an idea. So it's the same way that the Bill Murray scene is shot. So you just see this guy about to walk in. It's fucking Brendan Fraser reprising his character from Looney Tunes back in action as the Bill Murray character.
Chris is going wild.
We got Brendan Fraser back, baby.
That's it, right there.
Thank you. I'll be here always.
That's how the trailer ends. The first trailer ends.
It's got Brendan Fraser.
It's like the Spider-Man and
looking like Bill Murray.
Brendan Fraser.
So I've watched.
I mean, hey, Brendan Fraser's been getting back in shape because, well, he's not in the show per se, but with Doom Patrol. I mean, you had to see his ass on camera.
Yeah, it's just his voice, right?
He looked like the same Brendan Fraser, but
it's a big robot.
And one, like he's his character, you get flashbacks, so you do see him in the show.
Oh.
There is one portion where you see him fucking the nanny, and you see bare Brendan Fraser ass.
You do. It's pretty hot.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna
fucking the nanny.
I'm gonna watch it tonight.
I thought I'd hear today.
That's enough to make me watch the show.
I think I watched that with you, actually.
You showed it to me. Trust me. You were like, dude, I'm really into this shit. So you just wanted. You're like, look at this. I'm like, what? Oh my god, it's Brendan Fraser! Holy shit!
And then it's like, yeah.
No, that was like
that's just hot.
Brendan Fraser's doing this shit type moment.
Yeah. That's how you get. That's what the controversy that gets you back into the public eye, right there.
Right.
You show your ass on the DC streaming app.
Thing back, and you're showing your ass.
It's nice.
God, I want to be.
Sorry.
Well, during the Ben Affleck Renaissance, didn't he show Dong in Gone Girl?
Yes, he did.
You got to go whole hog if you want to.
You got to go whole hog.
But like, was that really the Renaissance? Because he went back to rehab like 2 years later.
And his acting,
because he had a divorce, man.
Yeah,
trust me, I was just as bummed when him and Jennifer Garner split.
He's doing good. Have you seen The Way Back? The Way Back is fantastic.
And now he's dating Ana de Armas, so
and
like
he looks so happy. Good for them.
Toby's just over here like these motherfuckers talking about.
I did not expect the conversation to go this way.
Speaking of Ben
I love
Affleck,
it.
the basketball movie he did, like,
That's what he
It's
just
way
said.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, The Way Back.
It's actually a really, really good movie.
damn
I
it, I
loved
wanted
it.
to see it too, but then
I just
COVID had to.
Really wanted to get Brendan Fraser's ass
That's
mentioned
weird.
on this podcast at least once before.
Well, we
Amen.
this
mentioned
episode
Brendan
ended,
Fraser's
so-
ass and Whole Hog, so I think we can move on.
We did. It's
Wait.
it's pretty-
There hasn't been a Watto reference, and now we can continue.
Okay,
You don't
there
want to
go.
get me started on Watto and Whole Hog
Hey.
in the same conversation.
Taylor, send Chris the Watto picture right now.
No, we'll get around to that later. Unless you want to screen share it right now.
No,
Wait a second.
Oh God, no.
Wait a second. I don't like where this conversation is
just
going.
send it to
No, you
Chris.
don't.
I want to see his reaction live on camera.
Just
All
moving
right,
on.
you guys talk. Let me work on it.
All right, fair enough. But yeah,
How
And
pissed do
our-
you think Big
those
Bugs
are my
Bunny is
ideas.
for not getting top billing?
oh, Bugs Bunny's got to be furious.
He's probably just throwing shit around in his house, like, what the fuck? I was the star of the first movie. What the hell?
You want to know? You want to know what pisses me? I shouldn't say. After.
He was just reminded of Brendan Fraser's ass as well. That's what it is.
Oh, makes sense.
Should I send it to your dad too?
No,
Wait, if George can't see it, I don't want to see it.
no, your reaction has to be seen on camera. You have the best reactions. Or do I have to pull up our over 100 view watch along of Midsommar? And
Yes.
Pet Cemetery is getting up there also. Speaking of other content we've done, you can go check out our interview with Andy Isabella, which is live on our YouTube channel right now. So go check that out. Really fun interview. Dude's chill as all hell. I wish him nothing but the best this season. Sorry for the plug.
Love a good shameless plug.
That's what you do. That's what you do.
But no, let's talk about the reason we're really here. And that's
Brendan
superhero.
Fraser's
I already talked about Brendan Fraser's ass, so I don't need to talk about anything else.
Oh God.
Amen, brother.
But no. We are in a time where we should have had a superhero movie this past weekend. Yesterday should have been free comic book day. And now we've got nothing. And it fucking sucks.
Technically, we were supposed to get Guardians 3 before James Gunn got fired. This
Was
is the
it?
original release weekend.
It was, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm.
That got announced,
And he
and
got fake fired and went to go do Suicide Squad.
Well,
There you
he
go.
got fired, and then we're gonna get a good Suicide Squad, and
Hopefully.
I have
If
faith.
it's like Guardians 2, I don't want it.
Oh, I agree there.
Since we're
I
gonna
think
see-
Guardians 2 is fine.
I rewatched Guardians 2 literally like 3 or 4 days ago, and it was the first time I'd seen it since I saw it in theaters, and completely different opinion second time. Like the jokes landed a little bit more. I got more of the story than I just kind of forgot about the first time I watched it. Because the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, this is just a joke fest. Like James Gunn just went too far with his humor, and I did feel like the story really clicked with me. And I didn't watch it again until literally 2-3 days ago, and completely different experience. If Suicide Squad's like Guardians 2, I wouldn't complain because I actually really like that movie.
Here's my thing. I like Guardians 2, but I find most Marvel movies to be like they have like a preset and then they just put all their like footage and story into that preset.
Oh.
And then they're usually the same movies over and over again. Same color palette, same story beats. So the Guardians are like the outliers that seem like very different from the other ones. So
Right.
I'm
Seems like we've triggered an older gentleman over our view.
I'm
of
fine with Guardians 2.
Sorry, Mr. Thomas.
Same.
I like Guardians too. I might even like it more than the first one. Is that a hot take?
I like it more than the
That's
second
not
one
bad.
as well. So
Oh,
see, me and
no.
Taylor are going to be tag teaming a lot of this tonight. We've already
No.
discussed it.
I don't want to
Rephrase that.
Guardians 1
No.
is
No,
Guardians 1 is
there is no.
Avengers.
I don't care if it makes you
Also-
uncomfortable.
Oh, it doesn't make me uncomfortable. I just wanted it to be a three-way. I also changed
does
my
that?
costume to a Kevin Feige costume now, so we can go on with the
Word.
conversation.
Nice.
But no, Guardians 2, it was just you get a laugh, you get a laugh, you get a laugh, you get a laugh, you get a laugh. And half of them didn't hit. Drax, who was normally the funniest character in that series to me, was boring. And something something I hate right now about the Marvel movies in terms of that character is they set him up to have this really cool arc leading into Infinity War, and it just disappeared. The avenging his daughter, all that dropped, nothing.
Yeah,
well, I think because we knew he had no chance of avenging them. Like, he's not going to take on Thanos by himself. It's just not going to happen. He tried and he failed. So whenever James Gunn realized, I think the audience realized too, okay, Drax works more as a comedic character. I think he ran with that. And I think in Guardians 2, he has more jokes than anybody. And I think probably good 90-95% of them do land, at least for me anyway.
Okay, Chris, there is comments aimed at you. Do not call me Mr. Comments. It's George.
Okay. So,
I mean, here's my thing. I think that, I mean, there's obviously the big battle at the end. It would have been hard to give everybody their moment, but they could have given Drax a moment with Thanos if they really needed to. I mean, you kind of had your Drax moment with Vision, or with Wanda avenging Vision, in my opinion, where you took everything away from me. I don't even know who you are. We would have had that exact moment with Drax if they included it in gosh, which one is it? Endgame. That's what it's called. Thank you. But I feel like it's kind of duplicating moments in a way. And I think that with a more developed character like Wanda, especially a character that they're going to be giving this show to, you might want to give it to her above Drax.
Man, I am looking forward to WandaVision. That's maybe.
Me too.
What the hell is it? I still don't know what the hell it is. Like, what is happening? They're in the 60s.
She's created this alternate universe with her powers to try to help her healing. Her mental healing over Vision's death, basically, and Vision's alive in it, and all this other stuff. And in a similar comic run, that's actually how her kids are born.
Well, there's also a Vision comic by Tom King that's amazing, where he kind of does the same. Wanda's not really in it, but it's about Vision, like building a nuclear suburb family, like a wife and 2 kids and a dog. And he's like, this is great. And then slowly they become self-aware and go through this. It's like it gets creepy. It's like got a lot of existentialism in it. It's super good. It looks like they're taking a beat from that too. So
it's gonna be really interesting to see how these MCU TV shows connect to the films, because this is gonna be an experiment for them, because they've never done anything like this before.
Well, Kevin Feige straight up said, he's like, you're gonna have to watch these to know what's going on in the films now.
Right, because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was like parallel-esque. Like, it had references, but it wasn't really. But these are going to be directly connected. And what's the first one that's supposed to come out? Is it WandaVision?
No, that's the second one.
Is it Captain?
Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Which that honestly, because I have most of the original Falcon as Captain America run. Like, I think I have like the first 12 or 15 issues, and I think the first run was only that much. I love that. And there was a report like earlier this week, or maybe it was end of last week, that the Russo brothers, actually it was this week, because they did the Endgame watch along. They came out and talked about the fact that there was a quick moment we considered making Bucky the new Cap, and then we realized the reason Sam works better as Cap is he stands more for those traditions and everything than Bucky does. And I agree with that completely, because if you look at Bucky and Steve, you have these 2 characters who agree on a lot. Do they butt heads at times? Yeah, but not that often. They seem to be on the same wavelength most of the time, compared to Bucky, who still has his mind messed with and went through all this stuff and probably has this jaded view of life now.
I would have liked to have seen Bucky kind of redeem himself, all the atrocities he's done the last 100 years. I would have liked him to see him redeem himself as Captain America, but then at the same time, Captain America is supposed to be this public figure like that people look up to. He does the videos for people who go to timeout or get suspended, or the PE videos, right? Yeah. There's no way the public would have accepted the Winter Soldier as the new Captain America when his history and his tape came out and they saw what he did, as the Winter Soldier. And
that's the other part of this story, because they've come out and said that, hey, a big plot line in this show is the government doesn't want Sam Wilson to be the new Cap. So
because they have what's his name?
Agent. Because he's black, right?
How was he going to go there? How was he not going to go there?
Chris, do you have an opinion? As the only black man here.
Only wait, hold on. What?
Oh, I'm sorry. You, yeah, I'm used to Chris being my only black friend. You're my other new black
Nick
friend.
left. Nick quit. Wow, this man
That was my
doesn't see
fault.
color. He's a true progressive.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Don't drag me into this mess.
Anyways,
Hey,
so
hey, that joke has been made. I will say that. I've seen that joke all over.
That's gonna be it for real talk.
But no, some people have argued that's going to be part of the reasoning behind it. And honestly, in today's day and age, that might make sense because with all the Black Lives Matter stuff going on like that, you may want to have some government officials not want that. And I know I don't normally like to get political. God damn.
My main point was I meant it more as a joke, but at the same time, you
made a valid point.
A lot of America didn't accept a black president. Do you think they're going to accept a black Captain America?
Exactly.
And that's not just in universe. That's in the rest of the world that we actually live in today. Like if people see, oh, the new Captain America's black. Nope, not watching it. MCU's canceled.
No, that was people when Sam Wilson first came out. They announced Sam Wilson was going to be the new Captain America. They're like, I'm not buying this. My Captain America's white.
Yeah, it was the same thing at the comics, and even like back when Miles Morales first started, it happens every time.
I mean, I don't know if that's entirely going to be the reason for it, because I have to imagine that if the idea was there that this show was going to exist, and it probably was.
And White Russell's the actor's name, Nick. White Russell.
Okay. Oh, for agent well, yeah. So
US agent.
US agent. Thank you. In my opinion, if it was kind of down to the wire during shooting Endgame that Bucky possibly was going to be Cap, then they probably built the entire story around either or. That's just my opinion. And that just goes into all filmmaking. Sometimes, especially for certain movies like even Joker, they made a lot of different decisions on set at the time. Trust me, I'm not going to script or anything, but I have the script, and trust me, if we're talking comic book movies, this script is a different movie. Anyways, so my point is that I just could only imagine that the storyline built in was probably, I mean, they might have tweaked some things in order to get the writing a little bit better, but and again, it is an MCU film, and that's not always the best writing. That might be my hot take, I guess. But I have a feeling that they probably had that storyline kind of built in, especially knowing that like WandaVision is supposed to tie into Doctor Strange. Everything is now
back.
Right. Everything is so connected. I think that the only thing that they don't really have a lot of say in is the Sony Spider-Man movies, obviously, where are they connected? Are they not? We don't know. There was that Vulture at the end of the Morbius trailer type nod, and I don't know if that means that that's the Spider-Man, because there was a picture of Spider-Man in the background and it was the video game Spider-Man, not the same suit. My point being is that everything is so connected and woven within the MCU that I can only imagine that everything has been so planned ahead that if they were trying to make a decision as to whether Bucky was going to be Cap or Sam was going to be Cap, that they probably had something planned.
Well, I agree with you. Personally, I agree with Toby in the way that there's a lot that makes sense, especially with what's going on in America today, for them to go the route of America not wanting a black Cap. But I agree with you in a lot of statements that you made that it was probably set up either way. And I mean, they signed
Hello?
Sebastian Stan for 9 movies. He had a 9-picture deal. So it only makes sense that they had at one point considered making him Cap.
You're right.
But I do want to give one of my my hot takes, and I can already hear my dad screaming from downstairs when I say this. But the 1993 film The Phantom, that comic book movie, is not bad.
With Billy Zane?
Billy Zane's The Phantom.
Steve's going insane for Zane over here, man.
I'm not gonna talk about the Phantom.
I've not seen the Phantom. I must regret to tell you.
I think it's on Hulu right now. Honestly,
I'm pretty sure it's on Hulu. It's not good. It's not good.
It's good for it's a popcorn flick. I'm not saying it's a well-made film, but I will not say it's a well-made film, but it is entertaining.
You love it.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a bad made film, but I love it. I love it.
That's my Batman and Robin.
Right, I was going to say. I mean,
How dare
that
you?
was wait, no. You didn't have a list. Would that have been on your list?
Guilty pleasures? No, it wouldn't make my guilty pleasures list, but I do actually enjoy the film. I'll watch it, no problem. I owned it as a kid. I rented it from Blockbuster for like a month straight.
Yeah.
I watched it a lot when I was a kid, and I watched it recently. It's not good.
It's not good, but it's fun. And no, you gave me the ring after I watched the fucking movie and loved it, so hush.
You got Phantom merch?
I had Phantom merch.
Dude, you love that movie. You're married to it.
It's okay. It's not wretched. They paid for it.
Oh, all right. Then the movie's great.
Connor's
alcohol, yeah.
Connor's like,
movie's
we can get on junkets with this. Pause. Let's talk.
So they boozed you up before you watched it, and so that way you would enjoy it.
That was the key. That was the key. They had to get everybody.
That's why they have a 42 on Rotten Tomatoes as opposed to a 12.
Yes, but no, it's a fun time. It's a like Star Wars. It's a 1930s serial, except it takes place in the 1930s.
Should they do a reboot of the Phantom?
They tried with a sci-fi movie sequel.
I'm sure whoever owns the license right now, they'll get to it. They'll get.
I'm sure that a sci-fi movie sequel is that's an A+.
I turned that shit off after 5 minutes.
Was Billy Zane still in it? Because I could believe that.
No, he died off, and it was about his kid or something.
Killed Zane? Shit, dude. You hate to see it.
Taylor, I want to. I do have another take based off the character Nick was dressed as in the last movie you saw in theaters, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
They fucked Black Mask in the ass.
Really? I must have left before that happened.
Yeah.
I don't remember
Was
that
this a post-credit scene?
I mean,
who did the fucking? That's what I want to know. Who was
Victor Has probably.
I would have said that they skull fucked him.
I enjoyed Birds of Prey quite a bit. I like Black Mask.
I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I hated what they did to the character. They didn't.
Well, you have his beautiful face. I mean, would you want that beautiful face covered by a mask the whole time?
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about there was barely any point in time where I actually was afraid of Black Mask, and he's one of the darkest DC villains there is. He's a B-level villain, but he's dark as fuck. And they gave us a dark moment with him earlier on in the film, and then he had dirty work.
Between him visibly having people's faces sliced off, including like an innocent almost child, and then being like a raging misogynist, making people stand up on tables at the nightclub. Like I thought he's not scary in a evil monster kind of way, but he was scary in like a toxic masculinity kind of way.
Yeah, I thought he was scary and like I didn't know what he would do.
Yeah, he was like a genuinely bad guy.
Yeah, he was just a bad guy.
You watch like Suicide Squad and all those villains are like, they're pretty bad.
Let's
they're like,
shoot a beam into the sky and
yeah. Like those villains are
whatever.
fine. Like this dude, he sucked. He was really bad. I don't like him. and as far as like Black Mask goes, like yeah, he's like a C-string Batman villain. You know, like if they didn't get to him, when were they going to do Black Mask? You know what I mean?
I hated that they killed him too. Like,
what would you bring him back for?
Is he going to be in the sequel? Birds of Prey 2? Are they going to bring him
back? I
back?
would love that. But he's dead. He got blown the fuck up. So, like, spoiler alert.
All I can think of you would do with Black Mask after that movie.
After the fact is, whatever. Sorry.
All I can think you would do with Black Mask after that movie is like a cameo in a Batman movie or something, you know? So
I think he fits into a more Matt Reeves universe style of a film. I mean, but you're not going to make him your number one villain. Although it sounds like with this movie, we could see every single Rogues Gallery villain in this movie.
Yeah,
And
I
that-
like I like
Man
the.
gets-
It's a different interpretation than I guess the more hardened gangster. He's more flamboyant in the movie, but
Yeah.
I like the performance. I thought Ewan McGregor was having a
Performance was fine.
blast.
I'm not complaining about the performance. I'm just complaining about the character. I like the hardened gangster. I like the guy who does his own dirty work. Like Under the Red Hood. I actually feared him as a character in Under the Red Hood.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
hoping for something like that, and I didn't get that.
I think you almost would have rather seen him in a different movie than
Yeah.
in this one.
Well, that's what it is. It's a Harley Quinn movie. Like, you pair Harley Quinn up probably with a more crazier, flamboyant villain. I mean, take the series, for example. I know that they kind of make the other characters
that's
within
serious.
it over the top.
That's
Right?
serious, yes. And like right now, season 2, she's about going around getting revenge on all the Rogues Gallery, killing the fuckers. It's brilliant. I love that show. If you haven't watched it, get the DC streaming app, binge Harley Quinn. You will have zero regrets.
Every
Make
clip
sure
I've
you
seen of
realize
it.
that Matt just spoiled it again.
No, just
It's in the trailer. That's not a spoiler.
just say spoilers right now. It's fine. Just say it now.
But I know Connor's gonna agree with me on this take. Nick's gonna agree with me on this take, and I think Taylor will too. But Ben Affleck is the best Batman.
I'll agree.
I don't think I agree with you.
I like
I'm
Michael.
Team Batfleck.
Well,
That-
first I'll do the cliche of saying Kevin Conroy is the best Batman.
Well, I'm talking about movies. I'm keeping
Right.
it in movies right now.
Mask of the Phantasm.
He did make it into a live action thing though, so you got to
Yes,
admit
yes.
he's within the category of it now.
That
Kevin-
depends on who your Batman is. What is your definition of who Batman should be? That will guarantee what your answer is. Because Ben Affleck is not the Batman that I think Batman should be. I don't think Batman is a killer. I don't think he's that. But Ben Affleck did a great job of being that. Christian Bale is more of my Batman. Not necessarily because I grew up watching him as a kid all the way up till I was as a teenager, but Christian Bale is who Batman is to me and who Batman should portray. And he's a non-killer. He is more of the detective, less the...
See, I don't think he was detective enough. I thought he relied too much on his tech.
Sure, I really love the scene in The Dark Knight where he takes the bullet casing and completely breaks it down to find the fingerprints. I think that was so badass. And people don't talk about that scene enough in terms of the way he is a detective in that series.
Hey, we all agree that Kevin Conroy is the actual best Batman, but the fact of the matter is I'm talking live action.
I like Batfleck as the best Dark Knight.
But
Got the nicest ass.
I have a feeling
Oh,
when
yeah.
it's all said and done, Robert Pattinson will be the best
You got a
Batman.
nice.
Well, yeah, because he's going to be the greatest detective. So I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I have a feeling Robert Pattinson will probably be the best one yet.
I'm very excited for that. I will say, I'll say I, as excited as I am for it, I do kind of wish we did get at least like one really solid standalone Ben Affleck Batman movie with Jeremy Irons as Alfred, J.K. Simmons
J.K.
as Gordon. And shit, I mean, I guess if you were going to do it, maybe Jared Leto Joker will pop up in there, Maybe that would performance wouldn't have been as embarrassing as if it had a better script and a better director, So I wish we could have got at least one Ben Affleck movie, because that's the thing, I can't really judge his performance because
It's only been supporting.
Batman versus Superman, he's just fucking miserable. And then in Justice League, his characterization changes up completely, and now he's like making quips and stuff. So I feel like I never really got to see what he could
For
do.
ruining that, but he still acted great in it. It's just, to me, Ben Affleck, he was what I wanted from Bruce Wayne, and he was also what I wanted from a Batman, because I do personally, I like the Dark Knight Frank Miller movies or comics and movies.
Yeah, of course.
The Dark Knight Returns, that's my Batman. That's the Batman, and I love the animated series. That's why Kevin Conroy is my favorite Batman, just like Mark Hamill is my favorite Joker. But if I'm going based off of the live action stuff, I'm gonna do Batfleck, Keaton, Bale, Kilmer, Clooney.
See, the reason I prefer Bale is, especially in Batman Begins, you really get to see Bruce Wayne's mask that he puts on. this egotistical asshole you see at the party scene where he just throws everybody out. He's like, I don't care about anybody. Get out of my house. Exactly. That's when you get to see Christian Bale put on the face of Bruce Wayne. And we didn't get to see that as much throughout the series, but we also didn't get to see a lot of that for Ben Affleck. We didn't really get to see a lot of Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne in the public eye. And that's, again, why I would have loved to have seen a solo Ben Affleck movie, is to see his version Jesus, I'm losing my mind. Of Bruce Wayne, see Bruce Wayne in the public eye and in his own movie.
In regards to what we got, though, I can't really blame Ben Affleck, because I wouldn't put it all on him, honestly. I mean, the Justice League stuff, he was going through a lot of personal things, so that's obviously going to... And
that movie was going through a ton of changes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with the idea of Ben Affleck being the best Batman, at least that we've seen in live action so far. Not to discredit anybody we've gotten before. In some way, shape, or form, I like all the actors that have played live action Batman. Even George Clooney, I think, had a kick-ass Bruce Wayne. But
he also had nipples.
Yeah, that too. But I
good nips.
enjoyed Ben the best. And Toby, to your point of like, oh, he's a killer. We can easily just we can not make him a killer anymore. And yet people have come out and said like, oh, he's not killing those people in the warehouse. Oh no, he murdered a few people.
Yes, he did.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, he killed a lot of people.
But that's not a staple. That wasn't a staple of the character that we saw in Batman v Superman, at least in my eyes.
I would argue
being a big point of that. Like he saved a few people, and that's the guy that's from the beginning of that movie. I'm like, that Batman kicks ass. And the warehouse thing is cool and all, and yeah, he's shooting a couple people, blowing up a couple cars. I'll let that happen for the one, but if we would have gotten a solo Batman film, we would have gotten the same Affleck from Bats v Soups minus the murderer part.
Yes.
I think the warehouse scene and all that is forgivable because it was just really cool. Yeah, that warehouse scene is so cool.
That is the best live action Batman fight that's ever been done.
1,000%.
I would argue, though, in my opinion, and I think it's all from a writing standpoint, that if you're going to create the Justice League, introducing your Batman as Dark Knight Returns Batman is probably not your best bet. And that's where it suffered for me, was that we see Batman, because like I think that we all can agree that if you've read the comic, thank you, Taylor, that is a great representation of Batman, but it's years out of him being Batman. And sure, that's established kind of in the movie. Like it feels like to me that Robin was just killed at that point. And if that's the case, then that is not the Batman that we got in that comic book. I just don't think that introducing Batfleck as Dark Knight Returns Batman was the smartest choice if you're creating a Justice League. Maybe if you're going to create a Dark Knight Returns movie, which I think would have been really cool, and I think Leto could have played that Joker really well, you don't introduce your Batman that you're trying to create an entire cinematic universe for as the Dark Knight Batman or Dark Knight Returns Batman, because people are gonna. It's a controversial thing where Batman kills people, but it happens well in that comic. You know what I mean?
It drives me nuts that after decades of existing as two different properties, all these years, Batman and Superman, they've been in the comics for ages, but they never were in the same movie for all this time, and they could have done it at any time. And they finally get in a movie, and it's just some mopey thing about them wanting to beat the shit out of each other. Like, nah, dude, let them be friends for a while.
And their moms coincidentally have.
Which, if they had let Zack Snyder release that director's cut, that is actually a good film. That 30 minutes they cut out completely changes the film.
I wanted the world's finest movie.
In the director's cut. And I 100% agree, having Ben Affleck be that Dark Knight Returns-esque Batman was a mistake from the jump. And they made him, like, even Gotham was scared of him. The whole everyone in Gotham was like, who the hell is this Bat? Like, and he's like 40 years old. Like, how long have you been Batman, dude? And you're still the whole, like, oh, he's a myth, he's a legend still. If he was,
that's how it was in the comic.
Year one Batman, I'd be cool with it. Like a year one Batman, I'd be all right with it.
That's how it was in the Dark Knight Returns, though, because he had been gone and out of it for so long that people were like, "Oh no, he's whatever." Whoever that was.
Existed at a point.
Yes,
He's
that's
definitely
still the
been
problem.
approved for the bat credit card at that point. So yeah, people should definitely know who he is.
Yeah,
But that's the thing, though, is that he fights Superman in Batman or in Dark Knight Returns, and trust me, it's a way better fight in that comic book than it is in the movie.
1,000%. Even in the movie that they did.
Right, and it's like, you know, to me, there's a way to introduce these two characters, and I know that that's kind of an already established story where they fight each other. That's very different within the comics.
Yeah, I mean the comics building off of years of history and the legacy and the that's
and this built off of fear.
Well, they just meet each other and then they want to fight, and then it like also wants to do the death and return of Superman, which should be its own movie, if not two movies in its own right. So
that should have been it's a separate Superman film.
That should have been a third Superman film leading into a second Justice League movie with Darkseid, and then
I mean, killing off your Superman, the second movie in, and then having Justice League without him until half through the movie. It was just so poorly organized.
And then getting that lip.
Yeah.
You're missing about an hour and like 14 minutes from that movie.
All right, let's talk Snyder Cut. Let's open it up.
It doesn't exist. But no, Nick, I
One more
want
point.
It doesn't exist. He said it exists.
I would argue that that moment in the trailer when they had introduced Wonder Woman and everything like that, and I know we knew that she was in the movie, right?
Yeah.
And they put Darkseid, or they put Doomsday in the trailer. I think the last trailer.
Oh gosh.
For me, that's where the movie was ruined for me, because clearly I knew that there was going to be some resolution between the two characters at the end. You know, clearly if we're making the Justice League, they're not going to be fighting with each other all the time. Maybe there's some bad blood, but they're not going to be fighting with each other the whole time. That's where the movie was ruined from a fan standpoint, because I'm like, well, I already know how this is going to end. Is that they're now going to be teaming up with each other with Wonder Woman, who again I knew was in the movie. Yeah. I would have loved for Wonder Woman's intro and that music to have been a surprise. And I know that in the trailer she should have been, we should have seen her in the blue dress, and we should have seen her. And we should have seen her in her costume yet. I knew that was going to draw people in, and obviously there was no way we were not going to see it, but. I think that would have been a way better. I know from a standpoint of filmmaking and marketing that there was no way they were not going to release Wonder Woman, but I just think that moment would have made that movie a lot better in my mind. I probably wouldn't have walked out with such a sour note.
You and I did not walk out.
Okay. I meant, sorry. And later on, I wouldn't have had a sour. Sorry, the moment that I would have gotten into my car, it wouldn't have been such a sour note if that moment wasn't spoiled for me. Even Doomsday in general, I would have gotten past how shitty Doomsday looked if
you don't keep
it in the movie.
You don't keep that secret though. You're not keeping that secret until the release date. There's no way that leak would have came out weeks beforehand.
Everyone knew who she was. He's just talking about actually showing her as Wonder Woman is what he's talking about.
That's what I mean. You would have known about that weeks beforehand.
Doomsday a secret the whole time. You easily could have kept Doomsday a secret.
I'll take it a step further.
People would have been theorizing about it like the stupid Robin Joker thing. So I would have rather been theorizing as to whether Doomsday was going to be in the movie or not.
I forgot about that conspiracy thing.
Like I said, I would have rather been like curious if Doomsday was going to be in the movie rather than, hey, Doomsday's in this movie. We just spoiled the ending of it for you. So sorry. Okay, you were saying something about me about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, we both like Brandon Routh as Superman.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I don't think he is a bad Superman at all. And he was the one bright spot in Crisis on Infinite Earth. And I'm sorry, Chris, that's just me being honest. That was that Chris's face.
Not a good movie, Superman Returns, but I think that the characters were well portrayed.
Yes.
Two things.
And even saying my least, KS, that's all I'm going to call him. He was even good as Lex Luthor in that movie. But again, they're portraying characters that were already established. So I would say that Brandon Routh was a good Christopher Reeve Superman. There's no doubt about it.
That's what Halloween did this successfully. The last Terminator movie did it unsuccessfully. This was the first movie you could say is like, hey, 3 and 4, ignore those. This is now number 3. And
Quest for Peace.
You
Nuclear
didn't like
Man.
the new Terminator? I liked it.
Superman
I did
Returns.
too. I liked the new Terminator.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Apparently, I was going to say that's a hot take, but it's not because I also like Terminator.
I
Dark
really
Fate.
like Terminator Dark Fate.
I hated that.
I loved it.
That was-
It was a lot of
Here's
fun.
my thing. Don't, and this is me being me. Terminator has always been about John Connor. And when you kill John Connor off in the first 5 minutes, okay, you've caught my interest. And then everything else was a
I
retread.
don't think it's always been about John
How
Connor.
much
I think
screen
that's
time
where
did John
they.
Connor have in Terminator? How
I
much?
think that's where they miss.
And
And then the first Terminator. How much screen time does John Connor have?
zero.
Thank you. So it's not. It was never about John Connor.
Boss,
It
yes,
never.
it was.
Second,
Second one, third one.
mostly about Sarah Connor.
I'm
And
talking about
let's see,
setting
the
up the
third,
franchise. It
the
was never
fourth,
about
the
John
fifth,
Connor.
are they good movies? No, because they use John Connor as a crutch. They use John Connor as a crutch.
Yo, what if
Second
John
one's more
Connor
about
was the
the-
Terminator, man?
No, second one
Oh,
is
they did that.
Oh, Nick's getting up. Okay, he removed himself from the stream. But no, my thing is with this last Terminator movie, and yeah, it's not a comic book movie, but oh well.
May as well be.
I like Brandon Routh's Superman too. He was just in the boring movie.
Yeah, he was.
They
But
shouldn't have made that movie the way it was.
but no, my thing is to me, Terminator was about John Connor. You did a brilliant thing. I'm applauding the move to kill him off, but I had more of an issue with the fact that the rest of the movie was a retread of everything that I saw and didn't like in the last 3 movies. Everything was a fucking retread. Nothing new. Like, it literally, the villain is what they did to John Connor in Genesis.
Well, the
John
villain's always a Terminator, so
I know.
that is true.
That was John Connor in Genesis. The whole thing going on with the main character, that was John Connor in 3 and 4, because his wife is the one who sent the Terminator back because John had died and she had now become the new hope.
Are you talking about Mackenzie Davis?
I can't remember. No, I can't remember who his wife was.
Oh, you're talking about the girl, like
I'm talking the girl.
the little Mexican girl.
Yeah, because in Terminator 3, we're learning that John Connor died and his wife was now taking the lead. So we saw that. Like, it's nothing. It was nothing new. And Mackenzie Davis was literally just Sam Worthington's character from the 4th one. It was nothing new.
I mean,
It's-
I
it's
thought it was fine.
Yeah, and
I
it's
really
it's-
like the movie.
it's like it's a convoluted movie. They do some weird things, like they
Yes.
they feel like the twist with the mom is like, well, I'm not. They feel like they have to put twists in it, and I don't think those work. But it's a low bar to clear. But I thought it was the best movie since the second Terminator. Now saying that the
And that's my thing.
Yeah.
That's not-
previous 3 were hot garbage, so
I wouldn't say 4 was okay. It wasn't hot garbage. It wasn't great.
it's a stinker.
I loved Anton Yelchin as Kyle Reese. That's my saving grace for it.
I do think of all the ones they've made, that one logically is the best premise of like, well, let's just do a movie during the machine war, but it's still kind of a stinker. Anyway, Snyder Cut, does it exist? Will we ever see it?
HBO would be so smart if they just release it on HBO Max.
Do you think they should just bite the bullet and put it out with like pre-render effects and like unedited footage?
He's
I mean,
right.
they would have to, because otherwise they would have to spend like tens of millions of dollars on a movie that
And that's why you
didn't
don't
do
release.
well.
But imagine, like, you sign up for HBO Max and Zack Snyder's Justice League is like one of the drawing powers. Everybody's gonna watch it. Everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, it's finally out." People would sign up for HBO Max.
In terms of HBO Max, the reason I'm so interested in it is I can rewatch Fresh Prince from the beginning. So,
Okay. I would argue though that it would cost more money as a video editor myself. Obviously, weird flex. Sorry. I would argue that it would probably cost them more money from a special effects and everything standpoint than they would actually make from. It would put them in a hole. That's just me.
I think Warner Brothers would be shooting themselves in the foot if they release Zack Snyder's Justice League and fans receive it better than Shazam, Suicide Squad, and their other theatrically released films. Because then the fans are going to be like, yo, We want the director's movies now. We don't want
Worse. What if it's worse than
And
when
that's-
they came out?
Well, that's what I was going to say. The notion, it might be, I don't know if it'll be worse than the theatrical cut, but the notion that Zack Snyder's movie is going to be great based off of his previous 2 very polarizing DC movies that kind of fucked their entire cinematic universe concept. I think the implication that that'll just be a good movie because it's the director's vision, I don't know if I buy it. I'd obviously watch it if it exists, but I think if it ever comes out, it's going to be like some pre-rendered PS1 special effects graphics, and you're just going to have to take it for what it is, because I don't think they're going to spend millions of dollars on a movie they lost money on and not a lot of people seem to like.
There you go. That's it right there. Like, plus, I kind of don't want it at this point. It was cool when it first came up, when it was fun.
I don't think Warner Bros. Would
exists.
have to spend money on it, though, because you have all these people, like actors from the movie, actually wanting it. So I imagine they would just...
It's a schedule clearing thing, though. They would have to fork up a lot of money in order to be able to actually be able to do it. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. I don't know if we're going to get it just for the cost of having to probably do it. Just because I know that everything's pretty unfinished when it comes to Cyborg and everything. They're going to have to redo a lot of Cyborg's effects in order to get it. I think that if we got it, it would be hard to watch, in my opinion, because if they're going to release it for something like that, they're probably not going to spend as much money on the effects because they know how much it's going to cost. So it's probably not going to look as good visually as it could. That being said, I'm sure that I just give us a script. If they release this original Snyder script, I think that everybody would kind of be happy.
I mean, Colin Trevorrow didn't release the Duel of Fate script after episode 9 was so polarizing. He did. Let's be honest. He's the one who released it. And to me, Zack Snyder's vision for what he saw for his DCEU, literally that would have only given you like a 7-film series, and then you got nothing else to go with. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Just like Colin Trevorrow's thing completely fucked everything Star Wars is doing in the ass. What Zack Snyder did was fucking...
Still would have been a better movie. So
I do agree. I think Duel of Fates would have been better.
I don't agree.
I think it's a better script for sure.
We're talking about Star Wars. We're talking about superheroes.
895 and it falls apart.
They're Star Wars comics.
If we start talking about Terminator again, I'm going to go pee again. So
no. But no, it's just one of those things where the direction wasn't conducive to what should have been done with that series. Especially, you want to compete with the MCU. Why the fuck are you rushing to this big thing and killing off Superman? Like I said, killing off Superman should have been the thing that you did before Darkseid.
Yeah, that's your Infinity War.
It's because they're trying to catch up.
I know.
When they're realizing that these standalone movies are doing a lot better, but that's kind of what happened with the MCU was these standalone movies did so well that they were able to do an Avengers based off of it.
My take, we want comic book takes. Here's my take on Zack Snyder, is that he's not interested in why people like DC characters. He knows why he likes them, or he knows what he'd like to see out of them. If you look at his body of work, like 300, Watchmen, he's in the game of adapting comic books, but they're adult comic books. And he likes, I think to him, his read on it is like, it's edgy, it's violent, it's got sex, it's not for babies. I like that. And then he tries to turn around and do it on Batman or Superman, and it just doesn't fit. He wants to go for the dark grittiness. He wants to inject some sort of philosophical quandary in it. And at the end of the day, people just want to watch a Batman movie. They don't want to see him.
And that's the thing. He had that interview, like, what was it, a year ago? And he's talking about, sometimes Batman kills people, live with it. It's like, no, he doesn't. Like, he does, but not in the copious amounts you had him do it in that one film.
Right. And his thing on Superman, I think he doesn't really get why people like that character and gravitate to Superman. He thought, okay, I'll come at it from a grounded angle. The Nolan movies were great with Batman. Let me try it on Superman, but it doesn't really work. Superman's not joyless. He doesn't hate the burden of being a hero. He's something to aspire to. And he just got 2 movies of that dude being so sad. He hated being Superman. And
so here's the thing. I don't really like Zack Snyder. He's fine. It's the fact that BVS came out, and then we got the extended cut, and it was way better.
Yes.
So the whole thing about me wanting Zack Snyder's Justice League is there's an hour and a half of footage missing, and like we've already experienced that. He made a better like vision than what the studio wanted.
Right.
I really enjoyed the stuff.
I want to see what's what the actual like vision was for the movie.
And Toby, I'll let you make your point in a minute because I want to add to Connor's point real quick. And the extended director's cut of Watchmen is even better than fucking Watchmen is. Like, there's two movies that
I would already argue that's a great movie on its own, but that's my hot take. Go on.
But there are two movies where his extended cuts are better than the actual theatrical release film. And Toby, you go ahead and make your point. I just wanted to add that in.
I was just going to say, I really enjoyed the stuff that was teased in Batman v Superman. As crowded as that movie was in terms of setting things up, I really thought the nightmare scene was super dope. Yes. I really thought them teasing Flashpoint was really dope. I wanted to see that stuff come to fruition, and we never saw it. We never saw what Nightmare was supposed to be. We never saw what Flashpoint was going to end up being, and I guess they still can if What's-His-Face isn't beating up teenagers at the store.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Countries.
So yeah, I just really wanted to see the stuff that he teased, but we're never going to see it now, and it's disappointing.
Well, here's the thing with what DC and WB are doing. I'm not rushing out to see these movies anymore because I don't know what's going on.
I am. To me, Joker was okay. That Birds and Prey,
No, I mean like the DC movies, like the established characters we've already seen in like the DCEU.
Well,
I'm not rushing out to see those movies. Joker was its own thing. I rushed out and I saw it. I'm not rushing out to see Birds of Prey. I'm not rushing out to see, Wonder Woman 84. It looks great, but I'm not going to rush out and see it.
Yeah, I love Batman.
Because who knows? Like, it could just get like they could say, "Oh, that's it." It could be like the Marvel Netflix series where they're like, "Yeah, nothing else is going to happen with these characters. Let's just end them." Like, I'm not rushing out to see them. Like, I don't understand what they're doing with them. They're keeping some characters, but changing some. Like, are they going to have, like, Aquaman and Wonder Woman be this, same actors, but then, like, have Batman on the, are these characters ever going to interact with each other?
I don't think they know.
It takes place in its own world. That's another Joker situation.
Until it
what's
does
the
well.
Point? So what's the point in rushing out to see these movies? I think that like Warner Bros. And DC, they're shooting themselves in the foot. That's probably why Birds of Prey didn't do anything, is because nobody knows what's going on with these movies.
This is from Dark Stage 9117 on Twitch. I love the MCU as much as everyone, but Black Widow I have no interest in. Phase 4 is supposed to be a new arc for Marvel and setting up new things. Why do we need a filler movie? We already know what happened to Black Widow in this movie. Is before Endgame.
I don't think that
they could tease some
topic.
They could tease so much other stuff in that movie that can have, it can be addressed later. Like, that's,
this was my worry when they first announced that it would be like the first movie, and like they're actually doing it now, and then we find out what happened like in Endgame. Like, I was like, there's no point in me seeing this movie. I already know the outcome. That's why I didn't really like Rogue One. I already knew all this stuff. Like, why do I need to see this movie?
Right.
But it does look like a good movie. It looks good.
It looks like it'll be entertaining. I do think it's a shame that after a decade of her playing that character, the only time she gets to lead a film is after we know how that character's story ends. Because, the stakes are lowered. I mean, I wouldn't have gone into the Black Widow movie afraid she was going to die. She's the marquee character, but still kind of ashamed to know where her story ends. I do think it looks like it'll be an entertaining movie. Obviously, I think David Harbour looks great in it. I think Taskmaster is shaping out to be a really cool villain in the movie.
And the action just looks really good.
He's not the villain, though. Calling it right now. I told Chris this a couple times, but Taskmaster's not the villain. I think Rachel Weisz's character
it's going to be Rachel Weisz. It's the same plot beat as most of the Marvel movies, where like they set up this big bad guy, and nope, it's actually this person that you thought was kind of good. And it's the same Marvel plot beat. I mean, but it's fine. I'll see it.
I mean, it'd be a different flavor of Marvel movie, I hope, with being, it
looks like the Jason Bourne of Marvel.
Yeah, and obviously it's going to be bigger in scope than those because they can never resist making it as big and as loud as possible. And I like you said, I'm sure it'll stick to the Marvel formula, but And it might be a change of pace from them having to fight an evil robot or an evil alien, to have some people trying to kick each other's ass. That's at least a little bit of a different flavor. Has this been, since the MCU started, from Far From Home to when Black Widow comes out, will that have been the longest we've ever had to wait for an MCU movie to come out?
Yes.
Feels like it.
It is.
Yeah.
They did a report on it. It's the longest that we've had to wait.
That's
no, because because Incredible Hulk came out a couple months after.
Like 1 month.
they were in theaters at the same time.
And then Iron Man 2, we didn't get till 2 years later, and that was the next one after Incredible Hulk.
I don't think they were really thinking MCU possibly at that point. I mean, they probably were thinking it, but
it was in the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, the post-credit scenes were looking at. So that's what I was wondering, because obviously once they got the ball rolling, we had not had to wait very long.
That's literally like a 22-month, 23-month gap right there.
Because between the shows coming out on Disney Plus, I think once they get back into the game, like we're just basically never going to be without new Marvel. It's going to be movie show, and it's going to just be it's going to be like nothing we've seen before. And they're like, that's the only franchise that I think has proven they've got enough of a track record to actually pull it off, because they pulled off a decade's worth of build to Endgame. So it'll be a good time to be a fan of that stuff, which we all are. Obviously.
I have a point to go back to the DCEU, but first, Chris, what were you saying?
In Black Widow's defense, it does seem like filler. And to Darksage's point, why, especially now in Phase 4, I honestly think they were going to set us up for something freaking crazy in this movie that we aren't expecting, that will carry us into the next film, which is like Eternals, and then we're going to get Shang-Chi, whatever. But I honestly think something nuts will happen. Not only will we see, I think, a new Black Widow-esque character come out of this movie, but something like universe shattering. I think we'll honestly.
Yep, that you can.
It's gonna be fun.
I called that like as soon as it was announced.
Something universe shattering will happen in this film, and we just have no idea what it is.
If I had to guess, it's an espionage movie. They're gonna tie it into the universe somehow. Like somebody's gonna be an evil ass Skrull in that movie. I don't like that they made all the Skrulls nice, as good as Ben Mendelsohn is. I feel like your next big story you tell is Secret Invasion.
There's going to be at least one that's like, hey, these humans are not good.
Or maybe Black Widow.
The argument is somebody is going to probably turn against them, and that's kind of how they're setting it up. Okay, one more point about the DCEU, and we can lay it to rest. And I've been thinking about this because I got the.
I had the perfect. No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go.
Do your thing, son.
No, go ahead.
With the possibility, and we don't know if it's going to happen or not, of Wonder Woman going to streaming, does that end the DCU?
It's not going to streaming. They've already said that's the one movie they won't be putting on streaming.
Well, the rumor was there. So for some reason,
that was before they pushed it back, though. They pushed it back after the fact.
All right, never mind. Go on.
I don't think that'll happen, and I think they're so married to like Jason Momoa's Aquaman having a sequel and doing another Shazam and Black Adam, and it seems like all that stuff.
Will that be the end of the universe building? Because here's the thing: is that if a bunch of people say it happens, right? Let's hypothesize. And here's the thing, though: is if Universal is going to screw over the world universe building by releasing movies on demand and then releasing movies in theaters, and the same thing is going to go for the MCU. Where if people don't have Disney Plus, then they're not going to understand where certain things happen. If somebody doesn't see Wonder Woman 84, they might not understand something once theaters go back.
See, I think Wonder Woman 84 is a little bit of a different situation because in that regard, it's a movie that takes place way in the past. There was like that made the first Wonder Woman so good, is it? And that's what made Aquaman so good. They were their own standalone movies that we knew were within this one world, but didn't really have any ties.
Right.
But Taylor mentioned espionage films, and there has been a comic book movie that not a lot of people realize is a comic book movie or comic book movie series that is arguably one of the best comic book series or movie series in the last decade, and those are the Kingsman films.
Maybe the first one.
The first one's cool.
The first one's
cool.
First one's great. Second one's okay, but
did that prequel come out? Because I don't give a shit.
I don't.
That prequel got pushed to September after.
Yeah,
It's
dumping
gonna get
that.
pushed again and again
Those movies are fun.
and again.
I thought
didn't
the
really like
prequel was a
second one.
series. I thought it was
really,
Or am I tripping?
really
No,
wanted
it's the
to
second.
like the
It's a
second one,
comic series,
but
yeah.
I didn't.
But they did the first movie is literally the entire series.
Right.
Oh,
then
the
second
comics?
one is
Yeah.
beyond. Yeah.
So
The
literally,
second one doesn't exist. Is Terry and Elton John?
that is true. Because
That's my big thing. That's my movie.
you don't even
Yeah,
like the first one.
I agree with
Hold on.
George.
You
The
don't even
second
like the
Kingsman
first
kind
one.
of sucks.
You didn't even.
Headphone users beware. Matt just screaming.
It's
Sorry.
super under because the first one set the bar so high and
Yeah,
it ruled. The first one rules, and the second one came out, and I cannot tell you a single thing that.
Wasn't
I
it like
remember,
2.5
nothing that
hours
I liked.
too? Like it was kind of a chore to sit through.
I think it was
Like 220 at least.
And I thought it was.
I could tell you.
I did not need to revisit it.
That
I
fight
think the first
sequence
one
at
more
the
than 5
church is the greatest fight sequence I have ever watched in a movie. That might be a hot take, but that's one of my favorites.
The
See,
church scene is awesome.
with the second one, I love the Elton John stuff. The Elton John stuff was just hilarious.
And I thought it
that
was
one
going to be
was
so good with like the statesmen and stuff, like
Yeah.
Channing Tatum.
They
Yeah.
dropped the ball on the
Literally,
street.
Jeff Bridges.
Matthew Vaughn came out and said this. He's like, "Yeah, that second one was basically about world building because they plan on doing a statesman movie. They have Taylor's going. They have Kingsman 3 announced. They have 2 prequels announced.
We're banking too much on Kingsman at this point. Like, we fell in love with Eggsy in the first one. And then they're like, oh, if you like Eggsy, you're going to love these other characters. And you gave them no type of shine in the second one. Yeah, you introduced them to us, but why did we give a shit? We did not give a shit. If you're talking about how Elton John is your favorite part of Kingsman 2, we're really screwing.
No, I didn't say that was my
really
favorite part.
dropping the ball.
No, I did not say that was my favorite part. I said he had some of my favorite moments. My favorite part is literally anything about the relationship, the rebuilding relationship between Eggsy and Harry, trying to get Harry back to who he was.
And that's where we messed up in regards to the world building. It's still Eggsy and Harry. You introduce the statesman and Jeff Bridges and Channing Tatum and Pedro Pascal, and they're all kick ass. And then
Connor 221
they're
is
nothing. And then they're relegated to nothing by the end of the film.
Yeah,
Because then we keep wanting to see Eggsy, and there's nothing in regards to Kingsman 3 even being. There's no release date. There's no production date, especially with COVID.
Because
stuff.
he wants to make the 2 prequels first, and he's like, I wanted to get we have the one that comes out with
the King's Man.
The King's Man, and then we have this 1990s one that's been set up with Gemma Arterton, and I forget who the other actor is.
And I'm sorry, but besides us and the people that like those movies a lot, who the hell cares about a prequel? Like, who genuinely like?
People
how
who
many
have
of the
enjoyed
pieces
that
of my
world.
friends that don't watch
That's going to decide whether these other movies happen, though. Is if the prequel does well, then yeah, we're gonna get
There
more.
are a lot of people actually. I know a lot of people who were actually looking forward to that.
I would love to see opening weekend for The King's Man. I would die.
18 mil.
The opening weekend.
I give it 50 to 60.
No way. It'll
There's
be
no way. There's no way.
It'll be 18 at the low end and like maybe like I'm gonna say like 25 at the high end.
Hey,
It's not doing anything over 25.
all I have to say is the first Kingsman opened to like 45, if I remember correctly.
All right, and then what did the second one do?
16 in its second weekend. Sorry. It did
30, right? 30.
39.
So it's on a decline.
But
And this is one without the star power of
Who's your
the
biggest name?
original
The King's Man,
characters.
Ray Fiennes.
hold on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Is he the box office draw that
No.
Actually, no.
that we're talking about? That he
Opening
is?
weekend of the first Kingsman was 36. 39 was an increase for the second one.
What about the overall gross of both films, though?
So I'm
Plus,
pretty
David
sure
Connick
two
against 50 Shades of Grey.
farred out
Two
worse than the
did-
Two
second
did
one.
400.
Like, if they really wanted to make more movies like that, they would have, instead of focusing on a prequel that is
First one did
not the
414.
same genre as the first two films. Like, I thought The King's Man was a whole different thing. I thought they were rebooting it.
No.
And this is coming from but I'm saying like after watching the trailer and after hearing about it, because we're all in this space, we know about all these little things. But tonally, it looks completely different than the first two films.
But the first, hold on, the first one didn't even look like it. The first one, when they showed you that first trailer, didn't even look funny. It just looked like an action film.
But we had no prior knowledge of the Kingsman unless you read the graphic novel.
I know. So my point is the way this one has been set up to me is I'm looking at the first movie situation all over again, where you're going to end up with people being shocked.
But not everyone's thinking like you are. People are, if they see the Kingsman, they're going to expect Kingsmen, and they already know what those movies look like.
I'm in the headspace that I'm glad it looks different because I thought the second one it kind of soured me on it. Like I didn't want to see any more Kingsmen, but
I'm thinking the
Kingsman
general
looks
public
good.
how they're going to react to this thing. I was going to see this movie regardless because I was interested in it, and the trailers look cool, and I like that aesthetic. But I'm thinking from the general public, and if they're trying to tie these movies back to the first,
it's been too long since the second one where no one's going to care.
Who
it's
cares?
Like that's why I say it's going to be like in like the high teens to low 20s.
Well, here's what I'll say. I think that this whole pandemic didn't really help anything. Obviously we're going to be shuffling movies around and stuff like that. But yes, I think we're going to be shuffling movies around and everything. And the issue is going to be that something like that could get lost in the shuffle. They're really going to need to nail some trailers really to draw people in, depending on what comes out.
Second trailer. They're going to have to release a third trailer because it's been.
I didn't even watch the second trailer.
Oh, the second trailer.
It's a good point. Let's just hypothetically say once movie theaters open back up, how long till you think you personally would feel comfortable going back to one?
If Tenet is the first movie they're opening back up with, I don't care what I have to do. I'll do any security measure to go see Tenet.
I was just about to say, I'm probably going to have my press screenings, and they're going to, from what it sounds like, they're going to make those strictly press for the future, for the next, like, however so long.
Oh, hell yeah, I'll start going to those again. I'm going to sit next to some redneck who calls Liz Allen's mom Queen Latifah ever again.
Oh my god, the Pet Cemetery press screening was rough.
Hey, we were in the public seats for that though. I didn't have full on press yet.
I was re-listening to one of the original podcast with Taylor, and how you guys had a person screaming in Creed 2 the entire time.
Yeah.
It's like I hate press screenings so much.
That was a press screening though.
And then Bugman at Batman versus Superman.
Oh my god! Oh, Bug Guy! Hell yeah, dude!
They had bugs crawling out of his shoes.
That's the thing, man.
I'd
be worried about Bugman in my screening, even once theaters open back up. Like Bugman.
I will sit like in the far corner away from anybody to see Tenet opening weekend.
See, like let's say theaters open in time for Tenet to like hit its ideal release day. I know we're getting a little bit off comic book movies here, but I guess all movies are part of the conversation here. I don't know. Like, obviously, I'm dying to see that movie, but I'm not trying to literally die to go see it. I'd probably end up waiting until like the third week of release or something, going on like a Monday afternoon or something, where I think I'm going to have lots of space. Maybe a morning showtime, so Bugman was sitting in my seat.
Matinees are my bread and butter there.
Yeah,
I would argue you don't want to be the first movie to open.
There's no way they allow auditoriums to sell out, right? They're going to have to cut
50% capacity.
Yeah, 50% capacity. What's being talked about is every other seat.
Shit, even then, like that's super sus.
I'm saying every other 12 seat.
How am I supposed to shove popcorn in my mouth through a mask? What then?
Easy. You grind it up into a fine paste.
Ooh.
Mix it with your Sprite or Cherry Coke, whichever you go to, because those are the only two viable options at a movie theater.
Amen.
And then you just drink through a straw.
I'll just drink the butter.
Yeah.
All right.
Hell yeah.
I do want to go something that might create some controversy. I know some people are already on the same pages on this, but I want to close out with us ranking our Avengers films. And I'm going to start with this man to my left right here, Toby.
So I'm assuming you're referencing Discussing Film put out a tweet telling people to rank their Avengers movies. And obviously people were throwing out, Endgame, Infinity War, The Avengers, Ultron. That seems to be the popular one, at least by what I saw. But
only correct one.
I think that
Oh,
Civil War is underlooked as an Avengers movie because it is an Avengers movie. I don't care what the title is. I don't care. People look at it as a great comic book movie, as a great Captain America movie, but when people talk about the Avengers movies, no one talks about Civil War. It's got all the Avengers characters in it. They all have an arc. Every single character in that movie, for the most part, has an arc, a bigger arc than they do in the first Avengers, and that's why I rank them. But I still enjoy, obviously, Infinity War and Endgame. We're never going to get an experience like that ever again. I still can't believe it happened in my lifetime. It's crazy. But my ranking would go Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War, The Avengers, and then Ultron.
I would agree with the fact that they do have most characters have a more complete arc than the original Avengers. I will give you that, but there's also more characters established at that time. So
that's what makes it better, is because the Russo brothers were taking more characters than what Joss Whedon had to deal with in the Avengers and giving them all an arc and giving them a
And
part
you
to
also
play.
introduced 2 new Avengers.
That's exactly what my next point was. You bring in Spider-Man, you introduce him without giving a backstory,
And Black
anything,
Panther.
and the same thing with Black Panther, and you set up both movies, Homecoming and Black Panther, perfectly.
It's Avengers 2.5. It really is.
That's exactly why I categorize it as an Avengers movie. And I know that it's still Cap's story. I know him and Bucky, it finishes off that arc, and I think it finishes off perfectly. And then it leads Bucky into becoming, the sidekick with Falcon, in their own series. And we see that arc kind of finish in Infinity War and Endgame, but not really. He didn't have a whole lot to do, but that's why I'm looking forward to seeing him in the TV show.
all right, Nick, how about you?
Me? Oh boy. I go the original Avengers #1, Endgame 2, Infinity War 3, and then Ultron 4. I mean, I would argue that, what?
I'm just shocked. I'm like, that's not the thing.
I love the original Avengers. It's the one that I feel like I can go back and watch over and over again without having to sit through 3.5 hours of a film and make it into a
plug in
series.
Civil War. Let's all plug in Civil War if we can, because I think we can all agree it's a glorified Avengers film.
Then I guess I would put Civil War second, but I just love the first Avengers film. I mean, it's fun. It wasn't too much. I think that is an argument that can be had for all of these movies, is that they're all kind of they're just a lot, which isn't a bad thing. There's a lot of characters established, but I feel like every single Avengers movie, everybody can kind of have an argument to say, oh, this character didn't get enough screen time. This character didn't get enough screen time. I feel like when it was the original, 6? Yeah, it was the original 6. I just felt like it was a more, comprehensible film. You know what I mean? It wasn't trying to tie everything together. It was trying to tie Phase 1 together. And that didn't really and I know that there was movies after that, I believe. But I'm just saying, like, it was kind of tying Phase 1 together, and it didn't need a lot. And, yeah, it ended with your kind of typical city battle, which is a trope of MCU movies. But I just enjoy that one the most. I can sit through it. It wasn't Justice League where everything felt like it was too much, and it wasn't all the other movies where, again, everything felt like we were trying to wrap up too many arcs. That's just my opinion.
The two boys on the bottom who agree.
My boys, my children.
Yeah, I think we are collectively going. I don't think it's really that controversial. I think we're going Endgame, Infinity War, The Avengers. I'd put Civil War here if we were concluding it, and then Age of Ultron.
Yep.
I feel like it's probably the more common consensus anyway.
Yeah, I'm 100% on that.
Age of Ultron, obviously, we've talked about a little bit. I think that one's weird because whereas like the first Avengers has the solo films building to it, so it's like the magic of seeing them hang out for the first time. Age of Ultron doesn't really have anything building to it. It's more, it's being used. It's being used to build towards other stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't really want that from my Avengers. I want that to be, the main event. And instead, it's got Wanda and Quicksilver, and it's got to set up Ultron, but it's doing that shit with Thor.
And
yeah, so it's not a horrible movie, but it's of these movies, it's definitely not very good. And Civil War, I think, is okay, but I think it's just kind of a thin excuse to see the Avengers fight each other for one movie, and it doesn't even have it doesn't even believe in itself enough to end the movie with Tony and Cap not being friends. It still ends with like, oh, well, you can call me sometime if you want to hang out. And it's like, come on.
All right, Chris, where are you putting Civil War? Because I know our lists are identical also, but where are you putting Civil War?
God. I cannot tell you how many times I've yelled at Toby for his nonsensical take on Civil War. I would put, well, for those who don't know my ranking, I would put Infinity War, the first Avengers, Endgame, and if we're including it, Civil War, and then Avengers: Age of Ultron.
All right, we still got the same list. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Chris.
Yeah. Infinity War to me, it just I just love it, dude. Like it's it's so good. But to address the elephant in the room, Civil War. I agree with everything Taylor said. They couldn't stick to their guns. The end of the movie completely negates everything that happened before that, at least in regards to the superheroes fighting each other. And then they bring it back in Endgame, which is something I have an issue with. So like in Endgame, like Tony and Steve hadn't seen each other since the infighting, and he had that smile on his face when he got the cell phone. Like, yeah, I think I'll use this eventually. See each other, and then he fucking goes off out of nowhere. There are some cool ass moments in Civil War that I will never forget watching for the first time in the theater. Like for them going to Queens for the first time, or the airport fight, or the time that Bucky and Steve fighting Tony ruled. That stuff ruled. Yeah. Zemo sucked. Yes. It was a poor attempt to which is fine, I guess. It's maybe I'm a stickler for like the source material and how they adapt it in the film. So calling this Civil War, going back to the Civil War comic books, there wasn't a villain that incited the events. It was the one event, and then it split it split the groups fighting each other, and it ended with Captain America submitting. So I thought like, okay, cool, but they had to force Zemo into this. Zemo's plan is executed by pure coincidence, and I don't like going back watching that movie because I just get pissed off watching Zemo's plan go perfectly with no hiccups. And that's why I don't like Endgame, because
can I explain my ranking?
Hold on, I'll let you get back to it. Let us defend. Let me defend this. I'm with Chris on Endgame. His reason for not liking Civil War as much is my reason for not liking Endgame. I'm just talking about your reason for not liking its plot line is the Zemos. Sure. That's my reason for not liking Endgame. Endgame is a series of coincidences and filled with fucking plot holes to boot. Like, here's a plot hole here, here's a plot hole here, here's a plot hole here. The entire fucking ending is a plot hole. Because if Tony if Tony snaps, killing Thanos, and sure, here's my thing. They haven't confirmed if this is multiple universes. If we now have a multiverse, then fine. It's no longer a plot hole. But with Spider-Man, you had the perfect opportunity to set up that, yes, this is now a multiverse. And they made it seem like that was going to be the case. And it's not. So you snapping Thanos out of existence, that was the 2012 Thanos. So everything should have reset at that point. I don't care what they say about, oh, this isn't Back to the Future, this, that, and the other. If they
explain all of that.
No. Pause. Let me finish. Because the thing is, if you have to put the stones back into existence, wouldn't you have to put this dynamic figure in the history of this entire universe back into existence?
No, because they explain all of that. They say when you go back in time, your past present becomes your present. So, like, when you go back, that's your present now.
Don't give me that headache again, please. No. That hurt my brain so much the first time I watched it.
But they explain it.
It's piss poor excuse that goes nowhere.
I may have the same rankings, but I don't.
It does, because then Captain America goes back in time and he lives out the rest of his life.
But here's the thing.
So literally,
if he goes back in time, pause. If he goes back in time, he shouldn't end up in that timeline. Because
I thought the film did confirm the multiverse, because it wasn't so much them going back in time as it was like sidestepping to an alternate timeline of events. So not going back in time and getting, the stones or Mjolnir or whatever, but going to an alternative timeline, borrowing shit from there. So it'd be like Captain America
She said if the stones didn't come back into their place in existence, then you now create a separate timeline. And that's the issue I have, because there's so many different reasons given for, oh, this is how it works, that none of it makes sense. None of it ties back together. Because once again, if the stones have to go back, or else you create this secular timeline that you now have to put the stones back so time stays in place. But at the same time, if you go back in time and your past become your future, and this is where the headache comes in, because
you're not supposed to think about it this hard. You're really not. Just watch the movie and enjoy it. You should not have to think about it this hard.
I enjoy it because I like to break down the logic in films, and when
there is no logic,
there's a talking raccoon. There's no logic.
Like, it's not a realistic movie.
Yeah, I think with anything with time travel, you can't get into the semantics of it, because by the rules of our universe, it doesn't really exist. So you can't really apply it to what we know about reality. So when it comes to like time travel semantics, I'm like, it works if you say it does, and at the end of the day, I don't really give too much of a shit.
4 different explanations, and that's my issue.
Because
they work for me.
It's all theoretical. So,
but don't as an audience member.
No. Let me finish my point. So when Hulk and the Sorcerer Supreme are on that roof, they said it's theoretical. So they said if you put them back in place, theoretically you'll cut that branch off. So it's not confirmed that's actually what happens with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse, and then you have Spider-Man Far From Home, where they're like, oh, there's multiverses, but that's just a lie. But then we're bringing J. Jonah Jameson back in. Like, it's probably confirmed that theoretical place them back in place in time would cut the branch. I think that theory is not correct. I think they did actually create multiple timelines.
And if they did, then I will watch it in a new light. But where I stand right now, I can't.
Hey, we're literally getting a movie called Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness.
And WandaVision. Wait, pause. And WandaVision is supposed to be about her making a multiverse. So I can't.
Okay, so where are you? Why is Endgame full of plot holes when they literally?
Okay, question. Is the argument that we don't need outside information to make it a good movie? It should all just be explained.
Endgame is the best. It has everything. It has the heart. It has the action.
There's nothing but fan service.
I disagree.
Wait, it's the Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker. Nothing but fan service too.
Difference is one didn't have to deal with a major character dying and right around it.
Yes, it did.
Who died of the main Avengers cast?
You mean actor?
Yeah, what actor?
Oh, well, okay, sure.
So there's a reason why I view them with different eyes, because you had to write around Carrie Fisher to try to make a plot, compared to Endgame, which just had to tie up 22 movies.
And it did.
Yeah, that's perfect. So it had to tie up 22 movies.
One of the best Avengers, and then Infinity War, and then Avengers. The thing is, I think the Russo brothers are better filmmakers than Joss Whedon.
I agree with that, and that's why I love Infinity War.
I think the product they've released so far better than both Joss Whedon Avengers movies. I can enjoy Endgame and then Infinity War far more than I can enjoy Avengers 1 or Avengers 2. I think Joss Whedon has this weird optimism that he has to put into his movies, the whole Russian family, in the second one, and that pops back up in his rewrites of the Justice League. It's weird. I don't know why he has to introduce some random family that has to be saved as a side plot. I don't know. I don't like it.
I think he's a fan of superheroes saving people instead of just fighting, which I do like in theory, but I hated it in Justice League.
It's a good idea, but when you think about it, all these superheroes are going to have different ideologies, so there's going to be conflict within them. And Endgame had to tie up, like you said, like 10 years and 20 movies, and they did it very well.
I don't know what you do to make that movie better. I think it's
really don't either.
It's the best version of what they were trying to achieve.
I'll agree to that. I can't put it up there with a movie. I liked it my first. You can go back to my original review. I loved it my first viewing, and then I saw it again 2 nights later, and I didn't like it as much. Because
you didn't love the explanation from the giant green rage monster and the ball 1,000-year-old wizard. That explanation was not good enough for you. Therefore, you see plot holes. The explanation from the giant green man wasn't good enough.
Do you like Rise of Skywalker more than Endgame?
To his point, though, listen, if one thing, that's the thing about movies, is if one thing takes us out of it, that's where I'll give Matt credit. If one thing takes us out of it, it doesn't really help. You know what I mean? I mean, that's why I personally love the first Avengers movie more than the rest, is because I just kind of felt like it was the most straightforward out of all of them.
Mm-hmm. And Chris, to answer your question, I honestly probably view them on the same plane.
You have to prefer one, dude.
No, they're about the same level. I don't
pick.
It's Endgame, right?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because with Rise of Skywalker, my thing is I have to factor certain things into it. They had to write around Carrie Fisher's death. That was a big thing. You had to write a script around audio you had.
You're saying Rise of Skywalker is better than Endgame?
I liked it more than Endgame. I'm not saying it's a better film, which it is personally, but
I'm not saying it's a better film, but it is. Okay, very good.
That movie.
Look, episode 9's got a lot of problems that don't all just stem from Carrie Fisher dying.
You want to talk about plot holes? Oh, the Emperor's back. How's that?
Somehow Palpatine came back.
Dark Sith magic, cloning, something only the Sith knew. Explain to the movie. Quick line.
No, I would have rather had Hulk break it down.
Afterwards, the movie came out, and
it was in the movie.
Palpatine is actually a clone.
Cloning.
If it's explained in the movie, I completely fucking missed it because that movie's that movie's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
It's
Skywalker is fucking awful.
One quick line. One quick line is explained. Is it a throwaway line? Yes.
One quick line. And they literally explained the time travel 4 times in Endgame.
In 4 different ways. 4 different ways, 4 times, and that's my issue.
4 different ways explaining the same thing.
Moral of the story, Matt blames the Rise of Skywalker on Carrie Fisher's death.
No, I still like Rise of Skywalker. Now, I'll tell Taylor was the first person I texted because he was the first person I sent the Duel of the Fate script to. I was like, hey, straight up.
Send it to you.
Oh, yeah, sorry. You did send it to me. Sorry, correction. Thank you. I told you I loved it up until a certain page because a certain page disregarded everything that had been set up and everything that had come out so far in canon. And
Duel of the Fates still has issues, but not nearly as many as episode 9 we got.
And if everybody wouldn't have just like jumped on Colin Trevorrow for some like indie movie he did, like
some indie movie,
could have had a
this group of us right here, me, Taylor, and Nick, we're ripping them apart for that movie. I'm not even gonna lie.
I don't really care because it's not Star Wars. So like, he did Jurassic World, which I really like. I like Jurassic World.
I like it. I didn't really like it.
I would argue you don't fire a guy over an indie movie he made, but I don't think that's what happened.
It's because
you hire people on these indie movies,
it's because he disregarded what was going on, and then when they asked him to change it, him being the creative asshole that I love and hate at the same time, said, "No, I'm not changing it," and I can respect that as someone who also wants to be in that. If someone's asking me to change my vision, and I'm telling them no, then fuck it. But they said bye. That's what happened.
I mean, whether it invalidates something or not, I'll say his script was a much better sequel to The Last Jedi than the one that we got.
That was a horrible sequel to Force Awakens.
I don't know. I think it.
No, because here, for those people who are watching and listening, I'm about to spoil the shit out of the Trevorrow script. I hope you watch the table read after the fact.
I can't believe we ended up talking about Star Wars.
I wasn't even.
That's supposed to be tomorrow.
No, it's not. Or
Save
no,
it for tomorrow. Save it for tomorrow.
there's
I don't
no,
wanna
there's
talk
no
about
show tomorrow. There's no show tomorrow.
I haven't read the script yet. Spoily.
I have no interest in that script whatsoever.
Toby, I'll send it.
You
to
could
you.
read.
Little bit.
It's not.
No, I don't
it's not the movie that
know.
was
I have
made.
no interest in it.
I just don't
Who
care.
cares?
Like, I love Star Wars so much, and I see these movies, and I know it sounds very weird, and I know it kind of the way that Ken says, I see these movies as like a historical document. Like, these
Ken
things
Knapp, by
actually
the way.
happen, right? And so,
Totally
and I see
player.
something that negates an entire movie. It's a different version of it. I don't have any interest in watching it or reading it or anything. I just don't care. I'm sure it's great, and I'm sure people enjoy it. That's awesome. But me personally, I have no interest in it.
I respect that.
And see, Ken, that one day they had him hop on Collider Live when they were doing the Streamlabs. He made a valid point. Like, if you go and watch, and I know I'm the kind of guy who I watch all the back or behind the scenes stuff. I watch every documentary that's come out with these films. All that content. The script that Chris Terrio, his name almost slipped me. The script that Chris Terrio gave, and when you see him talking about this, because you can't say this is after the fact, it's him talking while he's on the set about certain things. He loves and cares about Star Wars, and when you see what he's talking about and how he's explaining his thought process, you can tell what he was going for. And if you're someone like me or Toby who sees these as historical documents that are just from this other world, it's one of those things where you understand it, you get it. I know Toby loved Rise of Skywalker. Like, he'll defend that film just about as much as I do, if not more. I don't know.
He's definitely holding him back.
There are certain choices that I don't love. Sure, the first time I watched it, I was like, I didn't know how to feel. Like, I watched it with my brother, and he's like, oh man, I really love this part and this part. And I'm just like sitting in the seat, like slunched. I'm just like, don't talk to me. Like, this, I don't know how I feel. Like, there were so many emotions and stuff, specifically about how Rey was handled, Palpatine thing. But the more I watch it, the more I enjoy it, honestly. And I know a lot of people, it's the opposite, and I understand that. But like you said, when I hear what Chris Terrio has to say and I hear what J.J. Abrams has to say, what they're saying makes sense to me in terms of a story and how they were trying to construct everything, taking into account the novels, the comic books, all the pre-existing lore. And it resonates with me. And even when I watch the behind-the-scenes stuff, it resonates with me even more. Like the documentary that came on the Blu-ray. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed the movie so much more after watching the Blu-ray because I understood the context of how they were coming up with these ideas. And if you don't like it, I get it. That's fine. But like, I love liking things. I don't like to not like things, especially Star Wars, man. And the MCU even. Like, I understand there are issues with Endgame, but I love the movie so much. I don't want to sit around nitpicking them all day. I'll say that they have issues. I have issues with all of the movies. Every single Star Wars movie, except probably Empire, I have issues with. But that's fine. You can still enjoy them and love them. Don't just be, don't nitpick it to death. I can't stand people who are like, what about this and this and this? That doesn't make sense. What about that? It just drives me up a wall.
I don't disagree. I think
that just goes back to what Nick said earlier. Like, if outside material affects the actual viewing experience of the movie you're watching. And I remember a conversation I had with Toby about Rise of Skywalker. He had seen it twice. I'd only seen it the one time. And he was explaining to me, like, the documentary, the this. And me, as a really casual Star Wars fan, I said, like, why do I have to watch a documentary to have to really embrace what the film is? So, I mean, I still really dug it. I was a fan of I agree with Toby. Like, there's some things I didn't like, but I'm like, yeah, this is cool. Like, I dig this. And I was content with it ending the Skywalker saga. But at the same time, it's like, I shouldn't have to watch a documentary in order for me to really get what the movie is.
And even the reactions from other people too. Like, I saw so many people who were like, I was adopted. Like, I didn't have a real mom and dad. I was adopted, and that adopted family became my family. And then immediately the Rey stuff resonated with me. I'm like, it's not supposed to connect to me that way because that's not my story. But other people can look at Rey and be like, her family was a piece of shit. Like, they were the worst. They cast her out, tried to kill her, but her adopted family is the one that matters, and she took up that name because that name mattered more to her than any of the other names that could have been given to her, whether it be Palpatine, Sidious, whatever. And that's why it resonated with me so much more, is because I saw other people's perspective.
And I'll agree. Do I like the Palpatine stuff? No, but I would. Especially when we were at Celebration last year, I was lucky enough to be at the trailer drop. So when I learned that Palpatine was going to be in this film, I was like, okay, you have my interest. How are you going to pull it off? Was it executed great? No, but it was executed well enough that I understood what was going on. That's just because I'm one of those people who knows so much about the outside world of Star Wars, outside of the films, via TV shows, books, comics, you name it. I read this stuff. I devour this stuff. Look at my fucking walls; they're draped out in Star Wars. It's just, but that's just because I'm one of those people. And Toby, it sounds like you're one of those people too. Hell, I see the Kylo Ren poster in the back. I know I talked to you about Star Wars when we were at Schmodown. It's just one of those things. Certain people are going to care about it and get the stuff more.
Yo, Chris, check. Yo, Chris.
Ultron. Yes.
Check the group chat.
Yeah.
That was like an hour late.
Chris
That
and Toby.
was like an hour late.
Since we're talking about Star Wars.
Christ.
And that's
Toby.
why Avengers Age of Ultron's the weakest Avengers film. God bless America.
Toby, did you?
I did. I just peeked. Thank God no one else was in the room.
no.
Oh, that would have been a hard one to explain.
No. It's like
Happy,
a accident.
happy May 4th, baby.
May the 4th, baby.
Hey, it was not my idea. It was not my idea that you had to see that today. Matt loves asking me to send that to people.
It is true.
Nick, you made the Watto reference.
Chris,
the idea.
Chris,
I didn't make any Watto reference. Just made the Watto reference.
For the viewers at home, could you describe in a few words what you're seeing?
Seeing means I'm still looking at it. I'm not.
What?
I looked at it and I put it away.
Save it for later.
You're gonna have to look at it one more
describe
time
it.
to delete it off your phone. You're gonna have to see it at least one more time.
Save it for later.
So, what I saw
What I do.
was
Disturbing?
disturbing, unnecessary, and expertly drawn.
There you go. There you go.
Navigating.
A little bit of context. I'm not going to describe what was in the picture, but a while ago, and I'm sure we're going to release it soon because we haven't. Matt and I were recording another Star Wars fan film. # not another Star Wars story. I don't know. I was just
Based on this?
Star Wars a fan story. Star Wars a fan story.
Yeah. It was a Star Wars fan film for the Star Wars fan film competition, and Taylor was there filming with us, and we're in the middle of filming this scene, and he's sending us pictures. Now the thing is that Matt and I don't have our phones with us, so I'm acting in this scene, Matt's directing and doing the camera work, and then Taylor's just sitting there on his phone sending us not just that meme. That was the worst of them all, but it was a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And we all go to our phones later and go, oh my god! Just you don't want to know. I'll just leave it at that.
Watto Rule 34. That's all I'll say.
All right. And on that note, guys, thank you for coming on.
The showstopper.
The showstopper. I mean, you can't really beat Chris's reaction. Guys, thank you for coming on. It's a fun episode. Toby, I know we got I'll announce this now. Fuck it, I'll share my screen. We have something we will be doing in honor of school being over for Chris, Toby, and I. And something that
Daredevil 2004.
Oh yeah.
Or 3.
We're all going to be writing research papers. Sorry.
No, we're not writing research papers, but there could be some research involved in this. All right, so we will be doing a movie trivia show. We have a bracket made. We got Nick versus Toby in the first round, and me versus Chris. Taylor and Connor are lucky enough to get buys. Nick and Taylor are both witnesses to this was just random.org. And then it's going to be double elimination. So it's going to be fun. As we get the questions finalized, I will notify everyone what movies are going to be asked in every category because that is only fair. Because I've had to talk with our guy, Tom, who's making the questions, and it's just a matter of if I know what movies might be in them, everyone else deserves what movies should be in those categories. So that's how that's going. But we'll be doing that soon. We'll probably find one day where we're all off, pre-record them all via Streamlabs, and or not Streamlabs, StreamYard, and then upload those separately. We have, well, this is more so me. May the 4th video. Everyone's involved in it, but we have the May the 4th video that will be dropping on the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back. As I've plugged already, the Andy Isabella video, you can go watch that now. We have an interview coming up with Demetrius Treadwell, Israeli basketball. He's a basketball player who plays in Israel, American-born, and we're going to talk to him about what it's like playing overseas. And then we have just a ton of other stuff. I know I want to do a final buzzer with Chris and Toby where once the last dance is over, where we talk about that, because I think that'd be really interesting and fun. Oh, Connor. I forgot you're watching The Last Dance.
Should I say what I'm looking to do here?
Oh yeah, and then I will let Taylor make his announcement because I'm so glad this is happening. So Taylor, go ahead and make your announcement.
Yeah, so in the really early stages of this podcast and sort of the podcast network, I had a horror movie-centric show called Really Scared. I only did a couple of them. I kind of fell off because I was just doing it by myself and it really wasn't capturing my interest or imagination. But I'm happy to say we're going to be bringing that show back. I'm going to be doing it with Connor in here. And it's just going to be I got a lot of different ideas for it. But, yeah, it's going to be horror movie specific. We'll talk about new ones, old ones. Might get into like the watch-alongs, commentaries. I got a lot of ideas for it, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm thinking we're going to have our first episode next week. I'm still confirming some stuff. But, yeah, if you like spooky movies, come back to this channel. We're going to be talking about them.
And then we got a couple, speaking of watch-alongs, we got the Rise of Skywalker watch-along, which we're aiming for May 25th in honor of that being Star Wars, the real Star Wars Day, in my opinion, because that is the anniversary of when it hit the entire saga hit the screens. And we still plan on trying to get Toby and Chris to do a commentary with Nick and I, where they're basically going to be interviewing us while we watch The Rise of Ren, Nick and I's fan film. So yeah, but that's kind of everything on the docket for the next few weeks, months, whatever ends up happening. For those people who have been interested in table reads, coronavirus kind of fucked that shit up. We're going to try to do it. I know people reached out to me via interview, but with Comic-Con back in March when we first announced it, and then coronavirus and trying to figure out how everything was going to work, that put it on hold. We'll see what happens. I know the first script we do for that is going to be Duel of Fates, and then after that, I believe we're doing the Uncut Gem script or the Max Landis Power Rangers script.
Affirmative.
Ooh, Max Landis? We're gonna.
That's kind of. But that first Uncut Gem script, or one of the many drafts that they have, will be one of the ones we do. So, but yeah, so that's it. Thank you everyone for coming on. Thank you everyone for watching. Signing off. I'm Matt. That's Nick. That's Toby. That's Taylor. That's Chris all the way over there, and down in the other corner is Connor. And this was another Who Are They Real Talk.
I like that. Come Batman.
Watto, Rule 34.
Whoops.